these holes in the hoodie that were presented as if they were caused in some manner by something else other than the
So
criminals.
that seems perfectly reasonable, and I'd be inclined to do that.
I appreciate that, Your Honor. And here is the reason for the motion for a mistrial with prejudice. On its own, to do this, and you put together all of the parts of what just occurred. You start with the fact that and if I could, Your Honor, now that I have it yet marked so I can then refer to it.
All right.
Thank you.
Can you print extra copies too, so I can have my own copy?
Absolutely.
And for the Commonwealth to see?
And I'm going to show the Commonwealth what I just printed.
Exhibit A.
Thank you, Madam Court Reporter. Sure. And here's another document, chain of custody document. Welcome.
Folks, the Facebook feed popped out, and in trying to fix it, apparently the whole stream went down for all of our connections. We are back. We apologize. The defense is calling for a mistrial with prejudice based on something to do with a piece of evidence that Brennan referred to.
Madam Court Reporter, hand them both up to Your Honor so Your Honor can see what I'm referencing.
Thank you.
And welcome back, everybody. Yeah, apologize for that.
For ID.
Thank you.
I move to have this broadcast as a mistrial.
Yes.
Do you need this, Mr. Leslie?
I do not need either of them, Your Honor, and I have the extra copies as well.
So essentially, Brennan referred to holes on the back of the sweatshirt. The defense is saying that this was purposely lying to the jury, as the holes were caused by a person taking samples of the sweatshirt, and the Commonwealth previously knew about this.
So you're saying they're wholly caused by another reason?
Yes. The defense accidentally printed out the wrong copy before screaming mistrial and with prejudice.
Go ahead, Mr. Leslie.
So, Your Honor, to do this quickly chronologically, so we have a hoodie sweatshirt that was brought into the criminalist, Ms. Hartnett, with the back of the hoodie with no holes on it. The criminalist makes cuts to the back of the hoodie, makes cuts to the front of the hoodie. The exhibit, Your Honor, depicts those. There's a chain of custody document that describes the chain of custody for the hoodie and the cuts in the chronology. And of course, we have Exhibit 88, which is the hoodie. So, what Mr. Brennan did, and I'm now pulling Exhibit 88, he holds up the back of the hoodie, which has cuts in the back from the criminalist, somebody from the Commonwealth, a witness in this case, Ms. Hartnett, she's testified.
It's a conspiracy.
And Mr. Brennan has indicated he wants her to come back and testify, which we welcome. And now what we have is we have holes in the back of the sweatshirt that were dramatically held up and confronted with Dr. Wolf, and then the jury sees it. With the clear, unmistakable,
Clearly.
purposeful intention of having the jury conclude that these holes could have come from events on January 29th of 2022, when in fact the Commonwealth well knows from its own documents, from its own criminal list, that those holes in the back were caused by their criminalist as part of their examination and sampling of the hoodie. What could be more egregious? What could be more misleading than that? And what could be more important for a context than the alleged collision that never occurred? That's the topic before some of the most significant and probative witnesses in this trial that the Commonwealth has been attacking from the jump of pretrial. They picked the most opportune, sensitive time to pull this stuff. This is intentional. This is irremediable. This is on the key issue of this case, whether there was any collision at all. On its own, Your Honor, on its own, this is a mistrial with prejudice. But I add to that what just happened, and I'm not going to repeat or go into other than to reference. This comes on just mere days after the Commonwealth raised the specter of absence of DNA on the same hoodie sweatshirt without having the criminalist, Ms. Kuhn from UC Davis come in.
What's
I
that?
know Your Honor already ruled on that.
Right.
Remember,
And
they
I,
already
let's
tried
move
for
along from
mistrial.
right, that's what, and I'm going to refer to this.
He's just referring to that.
Why
to
is
sure
this
it's double
occurring,
the
Your
amount.
Honor? Why is this happening? The Commonwealth has no case. They have no collision. They are desperate and are trying to create evidence of specters of collision where the evidence doesn't support it. So what have we come to? We've come to the manufacture of evidence. We've come to, incredibly, taking a hoodie, a key piece of evidence in this case, and holding up to Dr. Wolf, the ARCA expert, to try to make it seem like Dr. Wolf didn't do his job. You didn't account for these holes. How could you be a
Yes, Ariel,
credible
he's asking for
accident reconstructionist when you talk about some holes, but you don't talk about these
mistrial with
holes?
prejudice.
Knowing all along the holes that Attorney Brennan is trying to impeach
took
Dr.
the-
Wolf on were caused by the
took the sweatshirt
Commonwealth's
out
own
of the
criminalist
container and
as
has
part
been
of
holding it.
sampling. I don't believe
Serial.
one could
As to
come
why
up
he's wearing
with
gloves.
more misleading, misdirecting, elucidation of testimony than this on the key issue in
And
the
welcome
case.
all those from Twitter who are joining us.
We have
and those who are
irrefutable,
joining us on
objective evidence, and I will state that it's more than interesting that none of these exhibits that Your Honor now has marked for identification were put in evidence by the Commonwealth. Isn't it some coincidence that these are the one, and the only one of the, with regard to the hoodie, the back of it's not in, although the rest of them are, but these aren't. Your Honor, I think there is one and only one conclusion, in that this is
You're an
intentional,
idiot. Is
that
that the
it
conclusion he
is
wants?
a matter of such significance and of such misconduct and intentional that it merits the sanction of a mistrial with prejudice. The amount of effort, the amount of work, I can't even begin to think to remedy this in front of the jury, to go backwards on this. That should not befall the defense. That should befall the prosecution. Ms. Reed, again, is entitled, like every other defendant in this wonderful Commonwealth, to a fair trial. The prosecution is supposed to be held to a higher standard, to do justice, to create a fair trial. This is the antithesis of a fair trial. Miss Reed's rights under the Constitution and the Declaration of Rights have once again been trampled on, and it is becoming evidently clear the more desperate the prosecution gets because it can't prove its theory, including its own medical examiner can't support them, that they're now resorting to conduct like this. Your Honor, at some point, this has
Now
to
he's
come to
pounding
an end.
Gothic Sparrow.
At some point, Ms. Reed's rights have to be protected. At some point, confidence in the judicial system, the public's confidence in the
Take
judicial
a shot
system,
every time he pounds.
that
Says at some
prosecutors
point.
will conduct themselves with their duty to present a fair trial. That has to be enforced at some point for Ms. Reed to receive the fair trial that she
Fuck you, Jim.
and every other defendant in this Commonwealth is
Rubber,
entitled
rubber,
to.
rubber, rubber, rubber.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brennan.
Do you think she's excited? Look at her. Karen Reed thinks they've got this in hand.
Oh, she's excited
Your
for
Honor,
the
my
last
brief
time
review
too.
of the lab, my brief review of the lab paperwork and looking at the hoodie, it appears that I made a mistake. And so I think
It's
what should
over.
happen is there should be a curative instruction. There should be a stipulation. The court should instruct the jury that during Mr. Brennan's cross-examination, he asked Dr. Wolf about holes on the sweatshirt or holes on the back of Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt. The parties agree the holes were made by a crime lab technician. This was done inadvertently but should not have been asked. The court should strike the questions and the answers. And you should instruct the jury there to completely disregard any questions or answers about the holes in the back of the sweatshirt. And the court should allow the defense to introduce the lab paperwork.
All right. So I'm not going to allow the mistrial motion, Mr. Lessie. What I'm going to do is instruct the jurors. I'm going to
Nope,
put
he's not
in
going free, Parson.
what's been marked for identification, Y,
Damn
Z,
you, NFC. You were supposed to
and
get
B.
me out.
4 of each letters. I'm going to put all these into evidence. They can be displayed for the jury, and I'm going to instruct the jury that during the cross-examination of Dr. Wolf, Mr. Brennan asked him about holes in the back of the sweatshirt and whether or not they perhaps could have come from events or implying or something like this. I instruct you, you are not permitted to draw any inference that these could have come from the events of January 29th, 2022. I instruct you further that those holes were made by the criminalist, Ms. Harnett, during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt on, I just put the dates aside. Chrissy, can I see those, please? It's unclear for me. Do you have a better idea, Mr. Lessie, what day these were done? Is it all of those 3 days? Now I see a fourth day. 5/11, no, I'm sorry, 5/11, 5/12, 5/11, 2022, 5/12, 2023, and 6/18, 2023. Those are the 3 dates.
Your Honor, on or about May 18th, when the defense filed a motion to test, so that's the probative date.
So May 18th?
Yes, that's good.
Okay.
And that's 2023.
Yep. All right. That's what I'm going to do. Is there anything further you want me to include in the instruction? Your rights are saved regarding the mistrial. I disagree with you on that.
Your Honor, I'm not going to go any more into the argument, but I appreciate the opportunity to provide perhaps some further instructions for Your Honor.
So I'll hear you. Go ahead.
So the first, Your Honor, is with regard to two things. One, I would like the opportunity to have the hoodie sweatshirt held up, because that's what
Okay.
happened.
Yes. Yes.
These holes in the
Yes.
back.
Yes.
Thank you. So that's number one as part of the stipulation, and then.
I'm not wording it as a stipulation, and I'm not saying it was inadvertent. I am giving an instruction that they cannot consider it for this purpose, and I am allowing these to be placed into evidence. So it's not a stipulation. It's from me, which I think is more forceful.
I misspoke, Your Honor. I agree, not a stipulation, but just as Your Honor said, with regard to the matter Your Honor said they're not to take an inference, I would respectfully request that this be handled just like Your Honor did with regard to the rock at 34 Fairview. Your Honor said that rock wasn't present, on or about the time of event.
So I do say that when I say Ms. Harnett did this. So rewording it just a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
Mr. Brennan asked Dr. Wolf about holes in the back of the sweatshirt. I instruct you that you are not permitted to draw any inference that those holes were a result of the events on January 29th, So, all right, this is what I'm going to say. So if you're not going to listen to it, that's fine. I've already said it. All right, we can bring the jury in. It's what I said,
Ouch.
Mr. Alessi.
She is not happy with Mr. Alessi right now.
Okay. All right, so it's what I said, Mr. Alessi. I instruct you that you're not permitted to draw an inference that the holes came from the events of January 29, 2025. Those holes were made by the criminalist, Ms. Harnett, during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt on May 18, 2023.
Is it possible, Your Honor, last comment, to instead of not drawing inference, but you should conclude that these holes were not present in the hoodie sweatshirt. They were caused by the criminalist.
So I can just leave that all out then and just say, Mr. Brennan asked Dr. Wolf about the holes in the sweatshirt. I instruct you that those holes were made by the criminalist, Ms. Harnett, during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt on May 18th. It's probably neater that way anyway. All right, let's bring them in, please.
Judge, just as a housekeeping matter, the sweatshirt's been taken out of the plastic sheet, and it might need to be remarked. The plastic sheeting was marked, but if we're going to put it into a bag or something like that, we might need to have it marked. But we don't need to do that right this second.
Okay, so for those who are joining us, essentially what happened was Mr. Brennan
Yes.
held up the sweatshirt and showed on the back that there were holes in it. Apparently those holes were caused by a criminalist taking samples, and Mr. Brennan says he made a mistake and he put the holes up without knowing that they were actually made by a criminalist, and exhibits from the prosecution already showed that. So the defense popped up, demanded a mistrial with prejudice, which was just...
Mr. Alessi, you're simply going to stand and hold the sweatshirt, right?
You're so ridiculous.
Yes. The second time, Alessi made a big show about it, but was denied. They're giving an instruction to the jury now to disregard the testimony about the holes.
In your honor, I would hold it at your honor.
And yes, Mr. Brennan apologized to
I want you
for
to hold
the
it up
screw-up.
with the back.
Would you like me to start?
You do that first, and then I'll give the instruction.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Alessi, why don't you just, where are you going to stand?
Pardon me?
Where are you going to stand?
I would suggest, Your Honor, right about here.
All right? So you can stand there, you can hold it up, then I'm going to ask you to put it down, and then I'll give the instruction.
And then I will return it.
Why was it necessary for him to take the sweatshirt out of the
Officer.
packaging?
I don't know. It's a lessee.
All right, then we will take the luncheon recess. When we come back, we'll have the voir dire. Or actually, is Dr. Laposata here?
She's here, she's on next.
For just the measurements?
I'm willing to bet that unless he took it out of the bag, just so he could try to get the mistrial.
Probably.
Your Honor, am I going to be able to show the exhibits from Ms. Hartnett or the...
I mean, taking it out of the bag made no difference in his argument.
Well, I say it, and I'm going to tell her what they are, so.
Please be seated. Court is in session.
All right. Jurors, I appreciate your patience. Mr. Alessi, why don't you hold the exhibit up for the jurors, please?
Hey, jury, I'm
Jurors,
struggling to
that's the
hold
back
up a
of the
whole sweatshirt by
that was
myself.
shown to Dr. Wolf.
I'm a big boy now.
Okay,
Does he have to make that
thank
goof
you. Why
face?
don't you go ahead and put it back in the bag? So, jurors, I instruct you that those holes were made by the criminalist, Ms. Harnett, during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt back on May 18th, 2023. Okay? So, I know your lunches are here, but I think we'll, Mr. Yannetti, your next witness, please.
John Tedman.
Okay, you're gonna step up, face the clerk, and raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear the evidence you give to the court and jury in the case now here to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. Go ahead, Mr. Yannetti, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. In a good loud voice, would you please state your name and spell your last name?
Sure, my name
Al
is
from Home
John
Improvement?
Tedman. It's Tedeman.
Do you work, sir?
I do.
What do you do for work?
I am a private investigator.
Do you work for someone else, or do you have your own firm?
I have my own firm,
What is the name?
Forum Investigations.
And that's F-O-R-U-M?
Correct.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about your education and work history. You're from this area?
Yes, Boston
Where-
proper.
I'm sorry?
Yes, from Boston.
Where did you attend high school?
The Roxbury Latin School,
When did you graduate?
1996.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Princeton University,
What year did you graduate?
2000.
What did you do after graduation from Princeton University?
I became a federal agent.
Where?
The agency or the location?
Oh, I meant the location, sorry.
I started out in Los Angeles, and then I was back in Boston.
And what years were you a federal agent in Boston and Los Angeles?
2002 through 2008.
And what agency did you work for?
I worked for the Inspector General for the Social Security Administration, Office of Investigations.
And what type of work did you do in terms of investigations?
We did fraud investigations, identity theft, credit card fraud, fugitive operations, all sorts of things, anything involving a Social Security number, basically.
And why did you leave in 2008?
I went to law school,
Where?
Suffolk,
What year did you graduate from Suffolk Law School?
2013.
And what did you do after graduation from Suffolk Law School?
I've had a small solo law practice and worked as a real estate broker,
And what type of law did you practice?
mostly real estate law.
When did you start forum investigations?
In April of 2024.
Are you still practicing as a lawyer?
Not very much, no. I still have my license, but my bar card, but I don't practice much.
All right. How did you become involved in this case?
I was contacted by somebody from your office last Tuesday, I believe, the 3rd.
Okay. And was it explained to you why you were brought in at this late juncture?
Yes, it was explained that there was another investigator who had a health issue and would not be able to testify. So would I be able to help out with a small assignment?
All right. And what were you asked to do?
I was asked to travel to 34 Fairview Road in Canton and take some measurements and photographs.
Did you agree to do that?
Yes.
When did you go?
On June 3rd, I believe I arrived about 5:30 at 34 Fairview.
Okay. And when you say June 3rd, we are talking about last week,
Yes,
correct?
last week, yes.
Whom did you see when you got there?
One of the homeowners, an older gentleman, greeted me when I pulled in the driveway.
All right. And it was not the Albert family, correct?
It was not.
Did that individual give you permission to enter onto the property?
He did.
What did you bring with you?
I brought an iPhone as a camera, and I brought a wheeled measuring device.
All right, and can you describe what a wheeled measuring device is?
Yeah, it's like a handle with 2 wheels at the bottom, and in the middle there's like a little odometer that measures feet and inches.
Oh, his is fancy.
If
He's
we
got
could,
2 wheels.
Mr. Wolf, could we display the photo of the front of 34 Fairview that's already in evidence with the court's permission?
Yes.
And what exhibit number is that, Mr. Wolf? 46? Do you see exhibit 46 on the screen, sir?
I do.
Do you recognize that?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That is 34 Fairview Road in Canton.
When you got to 34 Fairview Road in Canton on June 3rd, did you make note of the various entrances to the residence on the front, from the front of the house?
I did.
Could you describe those for the jury?
Yes, on the left side center of the building, there's what I would call the front door, up those 4 steps, I guess. Then if you were to look farther to the right, there at the end of the main building, there's another door, which I guess is the second front door or side door.
And with regard to that door, is it fair to say that faces outward, faces toward the road?
It does. It faces directly towards the road.
Okay, continue, please.
And then past that to the right, there are the windows. And then if you can see the little red line, that is a side door that goes into the garage. Yes, right there.
It's been highlighted there?
Yes.
Okay. And then there are obviously the 2 garage doors.
Then the 2 garage car doors, yes.
4 cars to enter. Okay.
Yes.
We can take that down. Mr. Wolf can put the lights on. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, I've placed a photograph in front of you. Can you identify that for the jury?
Yes, that appears to be a photograph that I took of the side front door, the secondary front door, the garage door, and the 2 car doors to the garage.
Okay. Particularly with regard to the side pedestrian entrance into the garage, the red door that you identified in the previous exhibit. Does that photograph fairly and accurately represent the layout of the house in terms of the outside and the entrances that you've previously testified to?
Yes, it does.
I would offer that, Your Honor.
All right, can I see those, please, sir?
Yet again. So first, for all those new folks on Twitter who are tuning in, this is our daily coverage of the Karen Reed murder trial. We'll be back on tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern with Pope Phil's show tonight. I'm sure Pope Phil has a wonderful show tonight. It is Suck It Phil Mondays. They may be even talking about what happened in the case earlier today when the defense again tried for a mistrial because there was confusion around holes in the back of John O'Keefe's sweatshirt. That it was dramatic testimony from re-cross examination where Mr. Brennan for the prosecution held up the sweatshirt and got the witness to admit that the holes could have been caused by being drugged across, being drugged by the car. Apparently that the holes themselves were caused by samples taken by a crime scene or an analyst about a year after the alleged murder took place. And the defense demanded a mistrial with prejudice. Prejudice did not get the mistrial, but did get an instruction with Mr. Alessi holding up the back of the sweatshirt to indicate that the holes were from the criminologists taking samples. So it's unsure how this will affect the rest of the trial, but Mr. Brennan apologized for his error. It was not a mass conspiracy, allegedly, but we'll see how it plays out with the jury. Welcome back, Gia. We are in front of 136 people right now, Gia.
Ow!
Yes, between Facebook and Twitter.
Nice.
So thank you for those who are joining us.
Welcome, everyone.
Yes. Again, we do provide coverage right here on the same Twitter account of the Karen Reed murder trial, and we go all day if you want to tune in. We try not to interject, but when we do, it's usually in a humorous function or a purpose, as we're not the straight, serious coverage that some people are.
Karen Reed does what Karen Reed wants. That's why she goes to side boss.
Sometimes the comments are made just for pure stress relief for ourselves.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
After
and
all,
boy, did Mr.
being around
Alessi
Jim is stressful.
pounding with his gloves on, demanding the mistrial, screaming that they were irreparably damaged, yet settling for a meek little statement by the judge. Yeah, that was stressful. Stressful situation.
And I still have zero clue why he needed to take it out of the package. It had no effect on his argument.
I believe it was just so he could try to provoke mistrial. That's my honest opinion.
And in other news on our main YouTube channel, and probably, I think I did post it over the Twitter, we have news on Chile de Castro's many injuries from the LA riots last night, including being shot by either a rubber bullet or a bean bag to the chest. Check out our main account on Twitter. I think it's MaddogJMF, as they are returning to Sidebar. And I forgot to update the Sidebar calendar, didn't I? Also,
shame on you, Jim.
Apparently in Las Vegas last night, there were 2 murders, both allegedly by YouTubers.
Nice.
So Finny the Legend was apparently murdered last night, with the suspect being another YouTuber named Sin City Manny Wise. Thankfully, it doesn't appear that they were killed. He and a companion were killed on a live stream. But my God, folks, if you got a beef, don't Don't
Yeah.
take it out like that. That's not
Yep.
the right thing to do. Thank you to Tina Slay for alerting me to that. Yeah.
Oh, what are the today's sidebar flavors?
It was Chipotle
Chipotle something.
Yes, Chipotle lime
Southwest
something.
Chipotle lime.
Well, I made it
There we go.
banana cream.
Okay, Mr. Wolk, whenever you're ready, if you can display that portion.
And yes, please hit the like button if you enjoy our content. I'm not going to stick my hand in front of the camera and prevent you from viewing
you
like
see what has
Julie
been-
did last
So I'm going to
night,
ask you to
but-
take that down. Folks, we're going to take the luncheon break at this point, okay?
Okay, she's pissed about something.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, let's see what's going on. She was already so angry at Alessi that she was snipping at him during the mistrial attempt. So let's see
Did he
what
do it
does back
again?
into. Yeah, he tried the mistrial just a few minutes ago.
Oh, I didn't see it. I wasn't here.
Okay, well, while you were gone, I had
Okay.
just explained it. Mr. Brennan held up the sweatshirt at the end of the testimony to that last witness.
Oh, okay.
And got him to admit that the holes were possibly from being drugged. Turned out the holes were from a crime scene analyst who had made the
So
holes
we'll
to take some.
fix that during the luncheon break, Ms. Gianetti, to what I said. All right. So can we get Dr. Laposata in here? We'll do a very brief voir dire of her.
Essentially, because of that, Mr. Brennan said he made a mistake. He did not know that the origin of those holes. Mr. Alessi called for immediate mistrial with prejudice, said the prosecution had no case and they were doing all of these stunts, and meanwhile he has pulled the sweatshirt out of the protective casing and dramatically had his gloves on, which he was pounding the podium with his gloves, demanding his mistrial.
And they did fit, and you must acquit.
Apparently. So, yeah. It was a cluster. It's right at the start of this broadcast, if anyone wants to go back during the break and see the drama. We again apologize. We were accidentally taken off the air by host error, as our Facebook feed had died, and I was trying to fix it, but apparently it took us off the
Good
air.
afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
We're going to do a brief voir dire, okay?
No problem.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Jackson, foundation on just those 2 points, please. Sure.
Your Honor, for purposes of expediting, does the court wish for me to go through the foundation of the doctor's education, training, and background and experience, which is going to take a minute?
Yeah, no, just focus on the foundation for the dog bites and focus on the foundation for what's been termed to be perhaps biomechanical engineering evidence, those 2 areas. And if there is support or methodology in Dr. Laposata's resume to point to exactly where that is, okay? And I expect this whole voir dire should take no more than 15 minutes.
I'll do my best, Your Honor. Doctor, could you please state your name for the record? Spell your last name into the record, please.
Yes, Dr. Elizabeth Laposata, that's spelled Laposata.
Dr. Laposata, what do you do for a living?
I'm a medical doctor subspecializing in forensic pathology.
Dr. Laposata, I'm going to move very, very quickly past the bulk of your training and experience over decades. I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions. Where did you get your medical degree?
University of Maryland School of Medicine.
And do you have any subordinate degrees to your medical degree?
Yes, I have board certifications in anatomic and forensic pathology.
How long have you had those board certifications?
Like 35, 40 years.
Have you ever worked as a medical examiner in any capacity?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever worked as a chief medical examiner for any agency or governmental agency or state?
Yes, I have.
Describe that for the court, please.
I was a chief medical examiner for the state of Rhode Island for 12 years.
How many autopsies would you say in general that you have conducted yourself?
Over 3,000.
How many autopsies in your experience as a supervisor in one capacity or another would you say you've supervised over your tenure?
Over 7,000.
Of those 7,000 that you have supervised, have any of those dealt with motor vehicle incidents?
Many.
Have any of those dealt with motor vehicle and pedestrian incidents?
Many.
Give me an idea, if you have a number in mind, how many motor vehicle pedestrian autopsies you have been involved with, either directly or from a supervisory standpoint.
Hundreds, over 500 at least.
Do you have a significant background and training in the cause and manner of death?
Yes, I do.
Is that the main goal or the main job or duty performed by a medical examiner?
Yes, it is.
Is it also significant in terms of supervising other subordinate medical examiners who may work under your charge?
Yes, you have to make sure they're doing it right.
Is there a methodology that you have employed and that is standard in the industry to employ, including differential diagnoses and inferential thinking in terms of coming to conclusions related to manner and cause of death?
Yes.
Can you explain that for the court in brief, please? I know you probably have a very lengthy explanation.
Okay.
Do it as briefly as you can, with being as succinct as you can.
Certainly. To determine cause of manner and death, we look at scene investigation, autopsy findings, police and witness statements, and medical history. And using that information, we come up with a differential diagnosis or a list of things that might have happened to that person to cause them to die. And from that list, then we see where all the science and all the data, which one it supports. So we've looked at several different things. I always told my staff, I said, how can we be wrong? What else could this be? So you have to make what in medicine is called a differential diagnosis and then see what the facts support.
Did you employ a differential diagnosis in this case?
Yes, I did.
Do you have to be at the scene in order to understand or analyze information that you get in a police report or photographs or things of that nature?
No, that we use the police investigation and scene investigation, crime lab reports, photographs taken by the crime lab, by the police at the scene.
Have you qualified as a expert forensic and anatomical pathologist in other courts in Massachusetts and other states?
Yes, I have.
Approximately how many times would you say you've qualified?
Hundreds.
I want to talk for a specific for a second about a specific area of interest for the court. Were you provided information and photographs of John O'Keefe's arm and his arm injuries included with the rest of the autopsy information that you received?
Yes.
Were you asked to make a determination about the nature of the wounds specific to his right arm? I know that there's other injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, but I'd like to relegate your attention to the right arm.
Yes, absolutely. That's what the forensic pathologist does.
Without telling me what your opinion was, were you able to come to an opinion or conclusion about the source of those injuries?
Yes, I was.
What methodology did you employ to come to that opinion or conclusion, or those opinions and conclusions?
My experience and knowledge and training, along with the appearance of the wounds on the right arm, which fit a pattern, and then knowing that it fits a pattern, then I can try to look for, okay, what is the item that caused this pattern? And that would be part of the differential diagnosis that I've used for many, many years in making diagnoses and determinations.
Have you ever been trained in pattern recognition?
Yes.
In what capacity?
Oh, as a forensic pathologist and medical examiner, a large amount of our work has to do with recognizing pattern injuries, because that's so important, because it gives us an idea of what might have caused that injury. And then that's clearly of a lot of importance to the police and the investigators as they're trying then to say, well, what could have caused that injury? And so the forensic pathologist could say, well, I think it was X or Y. Then they can carry out their investigation armed with that information as to what might have caused the injury on the body.
Is there such a thing in the world of pathologists as medical literature or academic literature that deals with pattern recognition?
Yes.
Are you familiar with some or most of those publications?
Absolutely.
Have you ever yourself taught classes on pattern recognition?
Yes.
At what level? High school, graduate school,
At the
medical school?
medical school level.
How often have you taught courses on pattern recognition?
Oh, at least a handful.
When was the last time you taught a course in pattern recognition?
Let's see, last month.
Do any of the courses that you've either taken, well, let's take them one at a time. Have any of the courses that you've ever taken dealt with wound pattern recognition as it relates to animal wounds?
Courses that I've taken?
That you have taken?
It's part of our basic training and understanding of a forensic pathologist. The board exams we take test for that. Those injuries are described in our basic forensic pathology and medicine textbooks. They appear continually in our medical and scientific journals.
Is that an important skill set to develop, wound pattern recognition as it pertains to animals as a forensic pathologist?
Absolutely.
Do any of those academic courses that you've either taken or reference works that you've just referred to, do any of those deal with dog bites and claw marks specifically?
Oh, yes, they do.
In the course or courses that you have taught related to wound pattern recognition, have you ever taught on the subject of dog bite wounds and the recognition of dog bite wounds?
Yes, I have.
When was the last time you did that?
Let's see, it would be in the course in the medical school. Would have been several years ago.
Doctor, with regard to staying with dog bite wounds specifically, have you ever performed an autopsy that specifically dealt with dog bite wounds, known dog bite wounds?
Yes.
So you've seen them in person?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever been qualified in any court in the land, state or federal court, on the issue of wound pattern recognition as it pertains to dog bites?
Yes.
When was that?
The last one I can recall was a federal case involving questions of a police dog.
Did you engage, in that case, did you engage in a differential diagnosis to determine, in your opinion and conclusion, your expert opinion and conclusion, the source of the wounds that you saw?
Yes.
Did the court qualify you to speak on that issue in court?
Yes.
Did you, in fact, testify in furtherance of your opinions and conclusions in that case?
I did.
I want to turn for a second to motor vehicle accidents or motor vehicle incidents. Do you also, some of the same questions, have you also performed autopsies on known motor vehicle pedestrian incidents?
Yes.
How many times would you say you've performed an autopsy on those issues?
Hundreds, maybe even 1,000.
is that a relatively common occurrence, as sad as it may be, motor vehicle pedestrian incidents in the field of forensic pathology?
Yes, it is, unfortunately.
Have you performed autopsies personally as well as supervised autopsies on motor vehicle pedestrian incidents?
Yes.
And what methodology do you employ in furtherance of coming to opinions and conclusions regarding cause and manner of death specific to motor vehicle pedestrian incidents?
Well, we look at the scene investigation. We look at what the motor vehicle looked like. We look at the hospital records, the autopsy, and then trying to understand how the injuries that the pedestrian sustained, what those mechanisms were, and how the injuries show that that person interacted with the motor vehicle.
In doing so, in coming up with injury mechanism analysis, is it important to look at and analyze the actual vehicle that is allegedly involved?
Yes, you want to look at photographs of that or see it in person.
Is that part of the normal methodology that is employed in the field?
Yes, you must look at the photographs. You must see what the vehicle looks like.
Do you also look at the other side of that handshake? In other words, look at the body of the individual that was, in your case, killed, the decedent, in order to marry the two and determine whether or not the cause and manner of death had something to do with the motor vehicle, a motor vehicle impact?
Absolutely.
Describe that for us, please. What are some of the things that you look for that's part of the normal methodology that a forensic pathologist employs?
Well, when we examine a fatality from a motor vehicle, we want to try to understand what led up to it, how the impact occurred, and then what happened after. So we would study information about the injuries to see if we can relate them to certain pattern injuries that would be on the car. There are also evidence of transfer of energy and injuries that can result from the transfer of energy. So using the body, looking at the scene and the vehicle, understanding the motions of the vehicle and how they would have produced or would not have produced certain injuries on the body.
I'm going to take them one at a time. With regard to animal wounds or dog bites, were you able, in this case, using differential diagnoses, using inferential thinking, and using the skills that you've developed over decades of your education, training, and background, were you able to, without telling me what the conclusion is, were you able to come to a conclusion or opinion as to whether or not the wounds that you saw on John O'Keefe's right arm were consistent or inconsistent with a dog bite or claw marks?
I was able to come to a definite scientific conclusion.
And is that conclusion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
Is it to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
Yes, it is.
Is it consistent with the training and methodology that you've employed over decades?
It is.
I'm going to ask you the same series of questions with regard to the motor vehicle incident. Did you review the autopsy report in an effort to look at John O'Keefe's entire body and all of the injuries that he sustained, not simply his right arm?
I looked at everything.
In doing so, were you able to come to an opinion or a conclusion as to the mechanism of injury and whether or not his injuries in total were consistent or inconsistent with a motor vehicle incident or impact?
I was able to come to a scientific conclusion.
And without telling me what that scientific conclusion is at this point, did you employ the same methodology that you've explained to the court earlier concerning differential diagnoses, inferential thinking, and decades of training, the education, training, and background that you've described for the court in coming to your conclusions about whether or not the cause and manner of death was consistent or inconsistent with a motor vehicle impact?
Yes.
Your Honor, is there any area that I have not covered to the court's satisfaction consumption?
So I'll let Mr. Brennan ask questions. I may have a couple of questions.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Laposata.
Good afternoon.
If we could start with dog bites.
Yes.
Did you have any specific training in wound pattern recognition regarding dog bites?
Yes, it's in our literature standard textbook. It's standard information that is needed to be a forensic pathologist.
When did you receive training regarding pattern recognition of dog bites?
Beginning when I took my board, starting in 1983.
And what did that entail?
It entailed reading literature, it entailed reading the standard forensic pathology and medicine textbooks, and it is a sub-part of understanding pattern injuries. Dog bite injuries are described in all our journals and all our standard forensic textbooks.
Other than reading about it when you were studying for your boards, did you have any practical experience where you were engaging in the field in pattern recognition analysis regarding dog bites early on?
Yes,
And
I've had many cases where there have been dog bite injuries.
When you were studying for your boards, were you doing that, or after you
Well,
completed your boards?
I'm telling you that that it's such a basic part that during studying for boards, it's a section that we study. And I, of course, had many cases since then.
Did you receive any education past reading literature for the boards, where you took classes, seminars, where it taught specifically wound pattern recognition regarding dog bites?
It's all part of wound pattern recognition. It's usually included in literature. If there are lectures about patterned injuries, it's a subset of pattern injuries like hammer injuries, like gunshot wounds, like baseball bat injuries. There's a huge number of types of patterned injuries that are part and parcel of what a medical examiner has to understand and diagnose.
Do you remember taking any specific classes or any specific training about wound pattern recognition relative to specifically dog bites?
Yes, it's in all the literature that I keep up with.
Did you take any training or did you attend any classes that involved wound pattern recognition of dog bites?
Yes, it's often included in our seminars and case reports.
Do you list any of those classes or seminars on your resume?
That I took? No.
Can you identify one of those classes, where it was, when it was, who taught it, what the name of it was regarding wound pattern recognition relative to dog bites?
I can't give you a specific time and date.
Can you remember the name of the last class or seminar that you took or completed that has to do with wound pattern recognition relative to dog bites?
I can't recall.
Is there anything in your report that identifies any of your specific education or training on wound pattern recognition as it relates to dog bites?
It's in my CV. It's basic knowledge that a forensic pathologist has to have.
I will ask you about the CV, but Dr. Laposata, I just wanted to ask you about your report first. Is there anything in your report that points to any specific training
In the report that I wrote on this
in your report
case?
relative to wound pattern recognition as to dog bites? Is there anything in your report that identifies that for us?
In my report, I put together the case of what happened to Mr. O'Keefe.
Okay. As far as your experience, though, do you ever make any note in your report about your specific experience and training about wound pattern recognition for dog bites in your report?
No, it's not appropriate.
In your CV, is there anywhere you can point to us where you had specific training for wound pattern recognition relative to dog bites, where we can see that on your CV?
No, it doesn't say dog bite training specifically, no.
Do you have anything on your CV that specifically talks about wound pattern recognition for animals?
Those are usually classified within other pattern recognition.
Do you have anything specific that would alert us in your CV that you've had such specific training on wound pattern recognition for animals?
Other than I've passed my board exams and have practiced for 40 years.
Have you provided a list of cases where you have testified in court specifically about wound pattern recognition of dog bites?
I don't know if I have given a list. I don't keep those kinds of lists.
You mentioned one case about law enforcement dogs in federal court. When was that case?
Several years ago.
How long would you say, if you had a guess?
How long was it ago?
Yes, please.
A couple years, around COVID time.
Did you testify in that case about law enforcement police dogs?
I testified about an individual who had injuries, and there was a question as to whether Canine Caper, who was the dog's name, inflicted any injuries on this person.
And this was in Boston federal court?
Springfield, yeah, Boston, right.
Is there a difference between law enforcement dog bites and domestic dog bites?
They have the same kind of dog jaw.
So you would say
They're
that-
taught differently, obviously.
Would the wound pattern recognition be the same or different if you were looking at it from a law enforcement dog perspective or a domestic dog perspective?
The dog would be the same.
Do you have any other cases that you've testified about wound pattern recognition relative to dog bites?
I've testified in hundreds of cases. I can't say that I remember any particular ones.
Would you be able to identify any of those for us today?
No, too many.
I'll ask you about accident reconstruction experience. And I mean this respectful, you don't have a biomechanical or a biomedical engineering type background, do you?
No, I'm not a mechanical engineer.
You're not certified by ACTAR or any of those type of organizations, are you, doctor?
No, I relate the injuries on the body to the motor vehicle.
Have you ever been to a car collision scene and investigated a car collision scene firsthand?
Yes.
And when you've done that, do you have a chance to look at all of the physical materials, the properties?
Well, when I go to a scene of a motor vehicle fatality, I look at the pieces that are scattered around. I look at the body. I look at blood stain patterns. I look at damage to the car. And then the body would go back for the examination at the medical examiner's office. And there would be further examination of the scene by accident reconstructionists and examination of the automobile by specialists who could figure out what motor vehicles do. So it's a part of correlating the injuries to the vehicle.
You've never written an accident reconstruction report yourself, have you?
No, that's not what I do.
I understand. In this case, what materials did you look at? Because I don't think in your report it mentions the materials that you studied. What materials did you study as the basis for any potential opinions regarding accident reconstruction?
Well, so you would like for me to tell you everything I studied in this case?
Yes.
I have my list here. Should I read
That's fine
from
by
that?
me.
Okay. I studied the autopsy report, neuropathology report, toxicology, and associated paperwork from the medical examiner's office. I studied 104 autopsy and neuropathology photographs, 70 additional autopsy photos taken by Trooper Watson. I studied Mr. O'Keefe's medical records from the Canton Fire Department and EMS run sheet. I studied the Good Samaritan medical records that also included 35 photographs of the body. I looked at evidence of Mr. O'Keefe's clothing, blue jeans, t-shirt, sweatshirt, boxers, and sneakers. I'm sorry. I looked at photographs that were taken at the crime lab of various pieces of plastic, black, red, and clear. I studied photographs of the outside of Ms. Reed's SUV as it was parked at the police garage. I studied the Canton Police incident report, about 100 photographs taken by Canton Police of the outside scene. So that gave me a very good idea of what happened to Mr. O'Keefe.
Were you involved in a case, Cromwell versus Daniel Tompkins?
Remind me about that. I've been involved in hundreds of cases.
Yes, you have. This case was in Franklin County Superior Court. It was a case where you had an opportunity to present testimony and regarding blood spatter, which you have been qualified expert for. And that, I'm sorry.
Well, that doesn't quite say what I did, but I remember the case you're talking about.
Did you attempt, or was there an attempt to have you qualified to talk about accident reconstruction in that case?
No, I'm not an accident reconstructionist.
And do you remember whether or not there was an attempt that was denied to try to have you talk about accident reconstruction in that case?
I have no idea. I'm not an accident reconstructionist.
Okay. Do you have anything on your CV specifically that offers any background on accident reconstruction or accident reconstruction type classes or seminars?
I don't think so.
All right, thank you, Dr. Laposata.
No, you're welcome.
So can I just ask Dr.
Yes.
Laposata about, you said you've been involved in autopsies with dog bites.
Yes.
How many?
I've done thousands of cases, probably 50 or so. It's not always the cause of death. And then I've supervised maybe 75 more where that dog bites were involved in the case.
When was the last one?
Let's see, probably 2 years ago.
Okay. Any questions based on my questions? All right. You are all set and now you step down, Dr. Laposata. We'll get to you sometime this afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
I do want to give everybody a break, including counsel. Can we do less than 5-minute arguments on this?
Easily. Yes.
Auntie Bev has had a day. She's gonna knock back 3 bottles of wine tonight, for sure.
Why stop there?
Okay.
Is eminently qualified to speak to both the issue of wound pattern recognition as it relates to dog bites, specifically, as well as cause and manner of death as it relates to vehicle pedestrian incidents or impacts. The doctor has an incredibly impressive resume, just a touch of which we reviewed during the course of this voir dire for her qualifications. But with regard to the dog bite specifically, she talked about the differential diagnosis that she undertakes and undertook in this case. She talks about the inferential thinking that she undertook in this case. She talks about how that is the proper methodology in the scientific community and specific to the forensic pathology community in order to come to a determination about wounds and the source of wounds, i.e., was it a dog, was it another animal, was it another source, was it lacerations versus abrasions, things of that nature. She's obviously done, as she indicated, thousands, if not climbing real close to 10,000 autopsies that she's either supervised or that she's conducted herself. She actually has, notably, as per the court's last question, she's actually undertaken personally somewhere close to, I thought it was probably 5 autopsies herself dealing with dog bites. They're not always the cause of death, but sometimes it's attendant to the injuries that led to a different cause of death. But she's undertaken at least 50, or that's what she estimates, 50 of those autopsies herself. She's seen dog bites, she's seen dog wounds, she engages in pattern recognition. She also teaches classes on pattern recognition as it pertains to dog bites, and she's eminently qualified to speak to that in this particular case. She has been able to come to an opinion and conclusion as to whether or not the injuries to John O'Keefe's arm are consistent or inconsistent with dog bites, and I expect that she would then give that opinion and conclusion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty and to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. As it relates to her differential diagnosis and her ultimate conclusions concerning the automobile impact, obviously, many more autopsies dealing with that because it's more common. She also engaged in the exact same differential diagnosis. She has training. The subfield of, or the sub-issue of vehicle pedestrian impacts is included and subsumed within much of the medical literature that she's been taught on, going all the way back to the 1980s, dealing with her boards, and she's consistently passed her boards. She's consistently kept up with the literature. She's consistently engaged in autopsies herself, so she has firsthand training. She also trains other medical professionals, other doctors, other medical examiners, and she supervises other medical examiners. She's been the chief medical examiner for an entire state. I cannot imagine somebody more eminently qualified to talk about the two subjects that she's been called to talk, well, she's called to talk about several other subjects, but these two subjects that's before the bench right now, than somebody with Dr. Laposata's qualifications. I will submit on the voir dire that we just completed.
All
Your
right,
Honor.
thank you. Mr. Brennan?
If they have this witness available, why did they use
I do
the
not
other?
think that Dr. Laposata has articulated
bite
the experience the way
expert?
it's been summarized. She could
Well,
not provide
to my
any
learned
specific training
colleague,
other
she
than
was a
the
clout
board
chaser.
and references
Hold
to
on.
literature. She could
I
not
wanna hear this.
articulate one single class or seminar that she took that pertained to differential diagnosis of dog bite injuries. She has no specific memory of having any type of experience in differential diagnosis as far as being in a training seminar or advanced education. She has the experience of a medical examiner who has seen what she believes to be dog bites in the past. She has no publications or references that she has studied the issue of differential diagnosis or pattern wound recognition relative to dog bites. If we look at the standard Dr. Russell employed, Dr. Laposata does not have any of the merit to be an expert in dog bites. While she has taught, we did not hear about anything in particular that she has taught about specific pattern wound recognition analysis regarding dog bites. She is an experienced medical examiner, has a wealth of experience, past experience in autopsies, but she has no experience that is a basis for her as an expert in being a dog bite expert. Particularly, she mentions one case that she's testified in federal court that we've heard of today, and she has nothing whatsoever in her report or resume to establish that she has used, studied, and knows this methodology. In fact, her CV and her report don't have any basis for one to look at and see that she has any specific experience in dog bites. And so Dr. Laposata, from the Commonwealth's perspective, should not be able to give an opinion regarding or about whether or not the wounds on Mr. O'Keefe were caused by a dog. She simply does not have the training and experience and education and methodology to make her a so-called dog bite expert. Regarding accident reconstruction, she said it best. She is not an accident reconstructionist. She saw some of the materials in this case, but it is a fraction of the materials in this case. She is not in a position to give an opinion whether or not the wounds are consistent with broken taillight. There is nothing we see on her CV. There's nothing we see in her report. There's nothing we heard on direct examination that she has any experience in breaking glass, breaking plastics, and the causation of wounds. It also overlooks the fact that the opinion that would be offered would extend beyond just the wounds on the arm. It would extend to a general opinion that he was not involved in a collision, and that's improper. There's no predicate or basis for it. And so based on her testimony and absence of being able to provide any education or experience, she should not be able to testify about either of these two matters.
Okay, thank you.
Briefly respond.
Okay.
Very briefly. She was, Mr. Brennan suggests that, well, she's only been qualified in one court, federal court. The federal government, the federal judge that was handling that case qualified her as a dog bite expert in that case. That is not a small thing. That, as a matter of fact, it's a very big thing for Dr. Laposata and her credentials. In addition, she indicated, contrary to what Mr. Brennan just suggested, she indicated that she has been training on wound pattern recognition as it pertains to dog bites for her entire career. Not just when she was studying for her boards since she's been studying for her boards. And it's been constant and consistent throughout her entire career. She's made these differential diagnoses. She's seen the autopsies. She's seen the wounds during autopsies firsthand, probably 50 or more. She's supervised another 75 or more autopsies dealing with known dog bite wounds. She has the credentials. The court will recall that, for instance, Dr. Isaac Wolf was called to testify by the Commonwealth. He had absolutely nothing, no credentials whatsoever to talk about wound pattern recognitions. He was a neurosurgeon, and yet he was allowed, over Mr. Alessi's objection, to talk about and to discuss his opinions and conclusions as to the wound pattern on the back of John O'Keefe's head. Certainly, Dr. Laposata brings much, much, much more to the table than Dr. Isaac Wolf. I'm not comparing them. They're apples and oranges. Dr. Laposata is she doesn't have to be a sole dog bite expert to be expert in dog bites. She doesn't have to be Dr. Russell. She just has to have that level of knowledge, that level of skill, that level of expertise that's beyond that of the average layperson in order to opine as an expert on a particular issue. She certainly brings that to the table as it pertains to dog bites, and I think her skill and her education, training, and background certainly speaks to the fact that she has that in spades with regard to motor vehicle pedestrian incidents.
All right.
I'll submit.
Thank you. All right, I'll get your ruling as soon as I can. So we're going to stop back up at 20 past 2, and I expect to go straight through the rest of the afternoon.
All right, for the court, please.
Okay, so we've got a 40-minute break here. We're going to take a break in a second. I don't know. Is she going to come in, guys?
I guess. I'm still wondering if they had her, why did they use Dr. Russell?
Because
it's also. Go ahead.
Because Dr. Russell was clearly favoring the defense more than anything else.
Yeah, she was a fangirl. But there was a couple of things where Brennan got her.
But this is a defense witness, isn't it?
Yes, it is a defense witness.
Why'd they use her instead of the other? Why'd they use the other one then? And
That's
not this
why.
lady?
That's what I'm asking.
See, there's a huge conflict here because Dr. Russell testified that police dogs and normal dogs bite in a separate pattern. And that was a huge part of her qualifications, was recognizing the difference between bite marks of police dogs and of normal dogs. Well, at the beginning there, Mr. Brennan asked her about that, and she essentially said there are no differences between the type of, between a police dog and a regular dog. So who's full of shit? Is it this witness, or is it Dr. Russell?
Well, I think both may be an option.
Yeah. They brought Dr. Russell in to talk specifically about dog bites. They're bringing this witness in because she's reviewed the autopsy and come up with a different conclusion. So what they're trying to do is bootstrap her criticism of the autopsy along with her issue of the dog bites, because what she's going to this doctor's going to testify to is John was attacked by a dog and that's what killed him. So they're using, and because of Brennan's brilliant cross-examination of Dr. Russell, they're trying to repair Dr. Russell's testimony by bringing in another expert to go, yep, I agree with her.
Except that expert immediately disagreed with Dr. Russell.
I know. I mean, she is coming in. She is going to be qualified. She is going to come in.
And if Paper Rowdy's going to have squeakies to play with, she needs to bring enough for all the pups in the audience.
Not mine.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've had a long morning so far. They're not back till. Excuse me. It's the fires, the Canadian fires in the cold, and I'm not breathing right at the moment. So we're gonna go to a 6-minute break. We'll be right back with some drunk girl to get us through the this lunch break. If I can ever find the right one.
I wouldn't mind to be alone with you. I wouldn't mind if it were just us two, holding hands and sipping shine. I wouldn't mind if you took all my time. The music plays, but all I see is me with you and you with me. If you held me tenderly, I wouldn't mind. Look at the stars, they shine so bright. There ain't nothing I've ever had that felt this right. We've come so far, what a wild ride. But if we did it all again, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind to dance the night away. I wouldn't mind if this is where we stay, drinking wine and spinning round, turning this place upside down. The music plays, but all I see is me with you and you with me. If you held me tenderly, I wouldn't mind. Look at the stars, they shine so bright. There ain't nothing I've ever had that felt this right. We've come so far, what a wild ride. But if we did it all again, I wouldn't mind. Look at the stars, they shine so bright. There ain't nothing I've ever had that felt this right. We've come so far, what a wild ride. But if we did it all again, I wouldn't mind. But if we did it all again, I wouldn't mind. This is that love life, so nice. Luxury. Luxury. This is that love life, so nice. Luxury. Luxury. Walking with attitude, influence on magnitude. Yeah, we going up, 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 up. We a whole mood. Love to see a big win. Hop in the whip for a spin, spin. Headed for the top, yeah. Cute the violins. Glitter gold on a roll. Watch me shine, watch me glow. This is that love life, so nice. Luxury. Luxury. This is that love life, so nice. Luxury. scene. Looking so fresh, looking so clean. Everybody talk about a glow up, yeah. Cause they love to be seen. Baddest in the whole crew. So fly, so new. Get that bag, money green. Out with the crown, I'm that queen. Glitter gold, on a roll. Watch me shine, watch me glow. This is the love life, so nice. Luxury, luxury. This is the love life, so nice. Luxury, 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 luxury. This is the love life, so nice, so nice. Luxury. This is the love life, so nice, so nice. Luxury. So nice, so nice. Luxury.
Okay, folks, we are back from break. They are on break until at least 20 after the hour, and then they're going to go the rest of the day. What we normally do for those first joining us is we play drunk girl videos during the breaks. This one is probably going to go a little past 20 after, so we've got a couple lined up for you today. Occasionally, we do marry NCR off to the subject of the video, and in this case, it may be fitting. I believe she's another Ohioan. She may actually own property, so there's that. And since NCR has not objected, let's go forward with the marriage. Or possible. She's New Jersey. Sorry, New Jersey.
New Jersey, Ohio, close enough.
Same thing. Same thing.
Same basic area.
Just further evidence that Jim's full of shit.
Welcome back, Gia.
Am I supposed to put all the squeaky balls away when I unmute?
No. Who was complaining about squeaky balls?
I think Hank said you want the dog's ears perk up when Zoe squeaks her toy.
Oh, I think he was complaining about the Rottweiler.
It wasn't the Rottweiler, it was Zoe.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Well, that's
always blaming Zoe.
Uh-huh.
That's
always blaming the Rottweiler.
Not me.
Well,
just for the bite. Just for the severe injury on my arm that still hurts.
Yeah, sure.
It does. When I press on it, it hurts.
When I gouged my fingernails into it, it hurts.
All right, turn your car off for me, please. Okay. Do you have your license, registration, insurance? Okay, can I get that from you, please?
The door is not properly shut. Look at that.
Yes, you. Oh, who's a good Robbie?
Where are you coming from?
The beach in Seabright.
What are we doing at the beach?
Just hanging out.
Hanging out where?
Donovan's.
You're hanging out at Donovan's?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I need your license, your registration, and your insurance. Let's start with your license, though. Give me that first. You mind just taking your keys out and put them on the dash for me?
Okay.
Thank you very much. All right. Yeah, just try to find your license for me, okay?
Here's my license.
Thank you. How long ago did you leave Donovan's?
Like an hour ago.
An hour ago?
Yeah.
Where have you been for the past hour?
I've been at my boyfriend's house.
Where is that at?
In Long Branch.
Okay, so you're coming from Long Branch right now? Where are you headed?
To his parents' house for Father's Day.
Where's that at?
It's in Little Silver.
Where in Little Silver?
On Lovett Street. You know where that is?
I do.
It's right on Lovett Street.
Okay. Do you know where you are right now?
Yes, I know where I am.
Where's that?
Acme, Little Silver.
Okay, all right. Were you stopping here for something?
It was. My boyfriend's actually at the door trying to get something before we were going to his place.
Okay, were you following him or something?
I was.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay, what kind of car was he in?
I don't know any cars.
Okay. You saw him parked though?
Yeah. He walked inside already.
Okay. All right, so I'm stopping you for a couple of reasons, okay? All right, first off, you went right through the stop sign right here without even braking. You didn't even slow down. All right, there's a stop sign right here, okay? All right. You also took a long time to go at the intersection of Seven Bridge and Remsen Road. All right. And then once you did leave, you were all over the road, and you made a sharp left turn right onto Church Street. Okay, so I'm a little concerned about your driving right now.
Okay.
All right. Were you drinking at all at Donovan's?
I'm sober.
You're sober. You didn't drink anything at all at Donovan's?
I did, but I'm sober. I'm good.
Okay, what did you drink at Donovan's?
I had a few, this is my boyfriend, he's right here.
Okay.
I had a White Claw and a High Noon.
Sorry, are you with her?
Yeah, I'm her boyfriend.
Okay, were you in the car or were you in a separate car?
I was in a separate car.
Okay, am I just hanging out for a couple minutes?
Okay.
Yeah, right over your vehicle. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Okay, so when's the last time you drank today?
Let me see what time.
No, without looking at the clock.
Like 2 hours ago.
You stopped drinking 2 hours ago?
Yeah, I
okay.
did.
What'd you drink today?
I had a High Noon and a rum bucket.
Okay, one of each?
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
That's all you had all day?
Yeah.
And you haven't drank in 2 hours?
No. I had a White Claw and a High Noon.
Okay. A scale of 1 to 10, 1 being stone cold sober, 10 being the most you've ever drank ever.
I'm on it.
Okay. Never heard of it. But then
What's
again,
that?
I'm 85.
You haven't heard of what?
High Noon.
A High Noon is a seltzer-based drink.
So it's a White Claw-ish type drink.
Oh,
It
okay.
is a seltzer made with vodka and fruit juices, introduced to America Wine and Spirits Company in 2019, and has been available and is one of the top-selling brands as of 2023.
Think Zima, Hank. Think Zima.
Yeah, I don't know any of those.
Zima might have been a lot better if it was based off of vodka.
I'm just trying to give you a frame of reference.
How sober do you think you are right now?
Full 10. Are we 9? Or I'm like close to a 10.
Once again, 10 being the most drunk you've ever been.
Oh, wait, so I would be like a 1, maybe 1, 0.
Okay.
0 to 10.
All right. I don't personally know you, but I don't think that's a correct assessment. Okay.
It is.
I think you drank a little bit more than you told me. Would you agree with that?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, she's a little slow.
All right. Have you ever been arrested for drunk driving before?
I have not.
Yeah.
No? Okay, that's good. All right.
Like a
All right,
little
give me a minute,
flat
okay?
line.
Okay.
You know, I think
Did you give it any
her
more?
walking up to a T-ball tee and trying to swing would be a little too fast-paced for her. Just saying.
Not
From the color? They didn't follow,
non-expressive. Let's
so I
put
don't
it
even
that
know what
way.
it was. Yeah, their driving was erratic. She was slow, fast, 40 down Church, kept crossing the fog line like 2 or 3 times, and then ripped right through here, doing at least 20, 25 right to the stop sign into the spot. I thought she was trying to get away from me because as soon as she saw me turn onto Seven Bridges, the long-turn green, she gunned it. Yeah, and her head was kind of slumped when I first pulled up to the intersection. So, I'll figure out how to
Are there stars in the southern sky?
Yeah. You do your walk and turn.
Okay.
Where is this? Is this Florida? No.
Jersey.
Oh, Jersey. Okay.
Headquarters, we'll be out with the RO.
He's from Jersey. You from Jersey?
Louise.
All right, Olivia, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You mind stepping in the back of the car for me, all right? I'm just going to run you through a couple tests because I'm a little concerned about your driving. I just want to make sure you're okay to drive.
Okay.
Is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay.
You get my phone in there and everything?
Yeah, that doesn't have to go anywhere, all right?
Can you back over here?
Yeah, right over here for me.
Right over here.
Right here.
Right here.
Too far.
Right here.
Okay. All right. Do you have any issues with your legs? Any injuries?
No, not at all.
No, you've never broken anything, never hurt
No.
anything? Okay. So you can keep your balance pretty well? Okay. All right. So what I want you to do,
Yeah,
all right,
sunglasses off.
is I want you to stand just like that, all right? Keeping your legs together, hands down by your side, okay? All right. You understand?
I understand.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to run you a couple things. I'm going to explain everything to you first. I don't want you to do anything else until I tell you you're ready to go, okay?
Okay.
All right. So what I want you to do, the first test is going to be called the walk and turn test, okay?
Okay.
All right. Actually, no. Let's go this way. Face me this way. Yep. Just like that. All right. So what I want you to do, keep your feet together, okay? Once again, I'm going to explain everything to you, and then I'll tell you to go, and then you can do the test. All right. All right. So you're going to keep your legs together, just like this. All right. You're going to put your left foot in front of your right foot. Nope. Once again, I'm going to explain it to you, and then I'll tell you when you can start the test. Okay. You're going to put your left foot in front of your right foot, just like this. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to walk in a straight imaginary line, all right?
Okay.
As straight as you possibly can,
Okay.
all right? And you're going to put your right foot in front of your left foot with the back of your right foot touching the front of your left foot, all right? And I want you to take 9 steps, and I want you to count out loud with each step that you take, all right? So just like this, all right? Nope, not yet. You don't have to start yet. I'm going to keep explaining everything, okay? All right, so this is step 1, right? 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth until you get to 9, okay?
Okay.
Once you get to 9, I want you to take a series of small steps like this, okay? Turn around, and I want you to do the same thing all the way back, all right? 1, 2, so on and so forth until you get to 9, okay? Do you understand all the instructions I explained them? Okay, you can begin.
Now I turn around and do what?
How many steps do you have to take back?
I don't know. How much?
Okay, you have to take 9 steps back. Make sure you're counting out loud, okay?
Fail.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Fail. 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 Fail.
Okay. All right, you can turn around and face me, okay?
15.
All right. The next test is going to be called the it's a balance test, all right? It's going to test your balance, how well you can
Okay.
keep your balance, all right? It's called the leg lift test, okay?
Okay.
So what you're going to do, once again, you're going to stand just like this. I'm going to explain the test to you, and then I'll tell you when you can begin, all right?
Okay.
So all you're going to do is you're going to lift the leg of your choice. It could be your left or your right, doesn't matter.
Okay.
You're going to lift it approximately 6 inches above the ground in front of you, just like this, all right?
Okay.
Keeping your hands by your side, stare at the foot that's out in front of you, and I want you to count out loud. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, so on and so forth until I tell you to stop, okay?
Okay.
The entire time, I want you to keep your foot up in the air. If the foot ever touches the ground, that's okay. You can restart. Lift your foot up and count from where you left off
Okay. So how much?
until I tell you to stop.
Okay.
Okay? Do you understand everything as I explained it? Okay, you can begin when you want.
1,000, 2,000, 300, 4,500, 600,
Fail.
700,
Fail.
8,
Fail.
9, 10, 11, 12.
Keep going until I tell you to stop.
Oh, she's blitzed.
That's all I can do.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's as far as you can go? Okay. I want you to speak with my partner. He's just got one more test for you, okay?
Hi.
All right, can you take your sunglasses off for me? Okay. You see that's my pen, right? What color is it?
Black.
Okay. So with your eyes and your eyes only, I want you to follow the tip of my pen. Do you understand these instructions? Okay. We're going to begin. Just have a seat on the back bumper there, okay? It's on it. Every single one.
Yep.
So, and if you're comfortable, I didn't have to see the operation, but if you're comfortable with it. Okay.
What was the 500 mark? Okay, have a seat. All right, Olivia, step off the vehicle for me, okay? All right, I need you to turn around and put your hands behind your back, okay?
For what?
You're going to be under arrest for driving while intoxicated, okay? You're operating a vehicle under the influence.
For what?
You can top stand 41, stand 450. You have the opportunity to send
You see how unaffected she is? She's like, for what?
All right, so what's going to happen now is we're just going to take you back to our headquarters. We're going to do some paperwork, okay?
Or is that just New
I'll let
Jersey
you call.
people?
You said it was your boyfriend?
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you call your boyfriend, and he can come pick you up.
She
All
sounds
right?
like she might be imbibing in a little bit of the devil's lettuce there.
Yeah. I don't know what that sounds like either.
I'm gonna grab all that stuff for you, okay?
Okay.
Are those too tight? Is this one okay?
Kinda like this, bruh.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's good.
Okay.
That's him over there, correct?
Where?
Yeah, right over there. That's him, right? What's his first name?
Joe.
Joe? Okay. All right, Olivia, come in. Step back here for me, okay? Do you have anything else in your
Who's
pockets?
that Joe?
I do not.
No? Okay.
Who's the Joe? God, that reminds me of a great
Joe's her
story.
boyfriend. Joe's her boyfriend, but go ahead and tell the story.
My Aunt Marianne, who really wasn't my aunt, but she was my mom's best friend, when she was dating her husband, Joe, she brought him home and let him sleep on the couch. And the next morning, when she got up, she was in the kitchen, and her dad came out, and she goes, "Shh, you'll wake up Joe." And her Italian father went, "Who's a Joe?" That's my story.
And you're sticking to it.
And they were married for 50-some years.
Well, yeah, after the father beat the hell out of him.
Who's a Joe?
Who's a Joe? Joe's my bitch now. Joe's a my bitch now. Joe.
Oh, Joe's Ulysses. Okay.
And of course, she was a hairdresser. You know, you gotta be a hairdresser.
All right, go ahead and step in. Just watch your head for me. All right. Yeah, it's easier to slide in with your butt first, and then kind of push yourself up into there. There you go.
Okay.
Good. I know it's not the most comfortable, but it's only a 2-second ride across the street. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything else you want me to grab from there other than your phone? You need your wallet?
You don't want my password to my phone, so you don't know.
No, I'll let you use it when we get to the headquarters. Okay. Is there anything else you need except for your phone?
Nope.
You don't want
Just
your
my
wallet or
purse.
anything like that?
My purse is my wallet's in my purse.
Your wallet's in your purse. So your
Yeah.
purse and your phone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Sit tight for me. I'll be back with you. Let me turn the air on for you. Okay. It's a little warm back there.
Come here. All right, listen, she's being placed under arrest, okay? For intoxication. It's probably going to take us about 45 minutes to process her, okay? And then somebody's going to have to sign off, basically saying that they're going to take responsibility for her for the next 12 hours and that she's not going to drive. All right?
Is he crying?
What if I drive her home and
Yeah, that's-
I have one of my brothers drive her car home?
No, the car is going to get impounded. There has to be a 12-hour hold on it, okay?
But your officer.
You're coming from
He might be
Donovan's too?
crying because he
Yeah,
thought
but
he was going to
I'm
get
good.
laid tonight. Now he realizes
My
he
suggestion to you is that you use an Uber. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
My parents live right around the corner. I
Okay,
can
so
walk.
why don't you leave your car and have them either come pick you up, or if you want to walk, that's up to you.
Oh, they're not going to let him drive either.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Look, I need her mom's number.
Okay. So if you want, you could walk over to our headquarters. We can ask her for that phone number. If you want to reach out to her, we can call her on her behalf. Listen, this is, I know it is a big deal, yes, but it's not like it's the end of the world, technically. It's just, it's motor vehicle
I know. I get
offenses at the end of the day, okay?
I
It's
get
not
that.
like she she's not going to be treated as like a criminal.
Will she lose her license?
I can't speak for the court. Obviously, you have to go to court and you go in front of the judge and work with the prosecutor. But I can't tell you what the outcome is going to be. Okay?
It looks like it's going to have a
I
nervous
can't take her
breakdown.
home right now.
No.
All right.
All right.
Walk away, dude.
Mom's gonna be pissed.
Walk away. There's lots of
Your
Jersey
boyfriend,
girls.
he said he wants to call your mom. I told, because I can, speaking for him.
It's probably a, like, hardware store, Acme.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're telling the fiance to walk away. That makes her free, doesn't it, Phil? If you're listening, doesn't it, Phil?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And,
She's free.
and because our own NCR is so in need of some love, even by New Jerseyite.
Yep.
No, I am not.
He's
Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today on this wonderful occasion.
burn this
to marry off this beautiful Jay-Z girl to our own lonely-hearted Ohio boy.
Stop it.
He's lovely Jay-Z girl. Do you take our beloved old lonely Ohio boy NCR to be your lovely wedded husband, honor, cherish, and to do?
I'd rather spend 5 hours in the hook room.
And NCR, you
gonna
take
do what with the hooker?
You take our lovely New Jersey girl to be your lovely wedded Ohio.
I do. Get on with it. I do. Get on with it.
And the
Pronounce
power
us
of
already.
today be by Acme duly marriage. I now pronounce you YouTube husband and wife. You may take your bride home.
Yeah.
I will burn this.
After she gets out of
I
jail.
don't think it's the best that he drives either. You know what I mean?
No requested.
But it's up to, well, so somebody has to take responsibility for you for 12 hours. Okay, so they have to come, what she can do, if he just wants to walk, but then I don't know where you're going to go after. You're going to have to walk or call an Uber with him.
Can I talk to him for a second?
Not right now, no. What did you want to ask him?
If he's gonna follow me to the police station?
Well, he's going to walk.
Okay.
So, you know, he's not going to be driving.
Okay.
God, she's a dip.
If that's how he got here, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. What a bundle of fun. Changed my mind. I don't want this girl for NCR.
Well, they're already married. It's too
But
bad.
I mean, listen, if you don't want to call your mom, you don't have.
I don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Against my religious beliefs, get married to a drunk chick.
Somebody to make him laugh.
She doesn't want to call her mom.
You know, I really don't blame her.
That's my secret weapon.
Yeah, her mom has anger issues.
Her mom has anger
Honestly,
issues.
I don't want to call her mom either.
Yeah, I wouldn't be angry at all.
What happens if I take responsibility?
You can. She can't get in the car in the next 12 hours. And if she does, then you also get charged.
Okay.
But you can take you can sign off on the John's Law.
Does that mean I'll be liable or liability?
Well, I mean, you're taking responsibility for her for the next 12 hours.
Okay. She's not going to spend the night in jail.
No,
is she?
no.
Okay.
They're not very
We
bright.
go back to headquarters. We have to run her through the machine.
I know.
made
some
for each
paperwork.
other.
So, like
Yeah.
I said, about 45 to an hour.
Dude. Do something.
All right.
Go to a hotel.
Maybe
get
if
an
you,
Uber.
do you have
go
a
to
cell
the
phone, maybe
hotel.
if you want to reach out
Keep
to
it
your
off.
parents. They live in town, you said?
Yeah, Lovett Avenue. It's
Lovett.
right around the corner.
Okay.
Her car's fine. There's nothing in there that shouldn't be in there.
No, but under the driving while intoxicated, we have to see if there's any intoxicants in the vehicle.
There is.
All right. So we're gonna go back to headquarters. Like I said, we're gonna process her. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You come back too? Lock it up?
Yeah. Yeah, just leave me the key for the hook.
They're gonna impound her car?
Correct.
Have to give it
12 hours.
Her mom's gonna find out either way.
Everybody's gonna
Is it
find
okay
out.
if I
So
talk
what?
to her real quick?
Nah, you can't talk to her at this moment.
Well, if she's an adult, her mom's only going to find out if she tells her.
Okay. I guess I'll just meet you guys there.
Okay.
Well, maybe the insurance will tell her.
Being a grown-ass adult should be
Slide
paying
on
for
out.
own damn insurance.
When their rates go up.
Good?
You tell
Gonna
your
walk right
parents
up here
what your
to the
insurance
store right
rates
up here.
are?
All right.
No, but she might be on mommy's insurance if she lives at home.
Stand there for me for a second. All right, go ahead and step up, go all the way up to the end of the hallway here. Make a left. Go all the way down. Nope. Oh, don't run into the wall. Make a left right here.
runs
Go
the wall.
And right into this room right here. You can take a seat on that bench right there for me. This one right here. All right. All right, you've never been arrested before? Okay. All right. It's a pretty simple process for us to process driving under the influence, all right? We'll ask you if you want to take a test. I'll go over some paperwork with you, have you sign a couple things, all right? And usually within the hour, somebody can come and pick you up, okay? I don't know if my sergeant spoke with your boyfriend, if he was going to come pick you up, all right? We'll see when he comes back in here in like 15 minutes.
Okay.
If not, we'll let you call somebody to come and get you, all right? Just because we have to have a responsible, sober adult come and sign you out,
Okay.
okay?
Well, you've eliminated most of Jersey.
But I don't know any.
Couple things with you, okay? Okay, so how much did you drink today?
I had a rum bucket, which is, I don't know how much in alcohol. And I also had one White Claw, so I had 2 drinks.
And that's all you drank all day?
That's all I drank.
Okay. And where do you have those at?
Donovan's and Seabright.
Okay. And which one did you have first, the rum bucket or the White Claw?
The rum bucket.
Okay. What time was that at?
A few hours ago.
Did you have it when you first got to Donovan's?
A little bit after that.
Okay, what time did you get to Donovan's?
11. And I had it around like 12.
Okay. All right, and you had the White Claw second?
Yeah.
Do you know approximately what time that was?
Like 2:30.
2:30? Okay. So there was a gap between when you had your drinks. Did the rum bucket take you a little while to finish? Alright, so there's this giant statement that I have to read to you, okay? Basically what this is when you apply to get your license, they have you sign a piece of paperwork that basically says if you get pulled over and accused of driving while intoxicated, that you have to consent to being tested for it, okay? Alright, so I'll explain everything to you. Let me read the whole thing first, and then at the end I'll ask you if you have any questions.
Okay.
You need to repeat anything, okay? Alright. So this is the general standard statement from motor vehicle operations from the New Jersey Attorney General, alright? Number 1, you have been arrested for driving while intoxicated. NJ statute 39-4-50. Alright, number 2, the law requires you to submit samples of your breath for the purpose of testing to determine alcohol content. Alright, number 3, if you refuse to provide samples of your breath today, you will be issued a separate summons for the refusal. The court may find you guilty of both refusal and driving while intoxicated. Any response from you that is ambiguous or conditional in any respect to my request that you provide breath samples will be treated as a refusal to submit to breath testing. even if you agree to take the test and then do not follow my instructions, do not properly perform the test, or do not provide sufficient
You can get
breath
charged
samples,
for
I will
refusing to
charge you
drive
with
intoxicated in
refusal
New
to
Jersey?
submit to breath
What?
testing. I repeat,
Apparently.
the law requires you to submit samples of your breath for testing.
Especially
Will
if you don't
submit
pay the
samples of your
toll.
breath? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to start a little more paperwork on the computer. All right. We have a couple more minutes before we can
Little
start
too much
administering
to
breath
drink.
sample tests. Okay.
Yeah, her
All right, do you have any
BAC
questions
was
for me right now?
0.12.
Do you have any gum in your mouth or anything like that? No. Do you mind if I push up your mouth with your tongue?
That's not
She
that
was
high
charged.
compared to some of the alcoholics that are featured on the show.
She was charged with driving while under the influence, careless driving, reckless driving, failure to maintain lanes, failure to stop at stop sign. Her case is
Yeah,
still
that
open.
might do
Her next
something.
case is August 1st, 2024.
NTI got to control your woman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not my woman.
Yep.
You're married to her. She's your
Yeah.
wife.
No, she's
She's your
not.
wife.
No, she's not.
She's your wife at least till midnight when you turn into a pumpkin again.
You married her. I performed the ceremony. Everyone here is a witness.
Everybody
Yes.
knows my one true love is the room.
Is who?
Is Rose? What? What?
Oh, no.
What? Are we gonna have a fight on the show?
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Fart out of your ear, Phil.
Damn.
What's this about you being in love with Rose?
Yes, he admitted it. He just admitted it. It was one true love.
We do have some breaking news. A judge just dismissed Justin Baldini's $400 million defamation lawsuit against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds.
Oh no! That was I was as sure of that as I was of Chili's lawsuits.
Yes.
You know, it was just
Yes.
there was, you know,
400 million?
Yes, he was suing them for $400 million.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds can afford that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't follow any of those celebrities.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds.
Celebrities.
Celebrities.
Yep.
Oh, besides being a celebrity, he also bought his own cell phone company.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's the one he advertises?
And
I
soccer
think he
team.
actually, yeah, he's got the soccer team. He's got the gin, and I think he sold Mint Mobile.
No, he owns it still.
I thought they were in negotiations to sell.
Let me double
Yeah,
check.
he's still all over YouTube doing it.
Hmm.
I hope he doesn't sell because I think his commercials are fucking funny.
Yeah, I could be wrong. Of course, I am also sick out of my mind.
No. It still says that Mint Mobile is owned by Ryan Reynolds, and they are working through the T-Mobile networks.
Okay. Again, I am suffering from a cold, and the fires from Canada have made the air quality terrible today. So I don't sound like my usual self. I sound better, right, folks?
Yep.
Yes.
Much improved.
So
Much
much
improved.
better.
So much, yeah.
Yeah, so immediately after this, I will be going to bed. Well, Pope Phil II will be your host tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock per account, 6 o'clock Mountain, and 5 o'clock on the West Coast.
Yes.
For our evening show, our Monday night show is known as Suck It Phil Monday.
Yep.
What are you going to be featuring tonight, Phil?
We have a follow-up video from our last Monday's video. So,
Okay.
and we'll probably play some soft sit bingo.
And what was this what was this mysterious project you had
I
that
don't.
Gia was doing notes for?
No,
Some
that's
sort
not
of project.
mysterious project. She helps me. She takes notes for me so that when we do the nightly recap, I can remember what the trial was about.
Okay. So will you be talking about the trial tonight?
Maybe I don't know.
And I'd like to see her notes. I might include them with the paper tomorrow morning. Let's
Nope.
see her notes.
Not
He is
gonna
my
happen.
executive producer.
I signed a NDR
NDA. Yep, NDA.
NDA
Yep.
with Phil.
Non-complete.
Jim.
Non-compete.
Hey,
Yes,
Jim,
Hank.
you can have my
Yeah.
notes. They're rubber. Fuck you, Jim.
I thought they were fuck you, Shuggy, because Shuggy didn't show up again. In
Nope.
fact, Becca, put the message you had from Griffey to Shuggy back in the side chat so I can pin it to this side chat, please. That's
Well, I'd loan you Dwayne, but you keep complaining about the fact that he keeps trying to steal stuff.
well, yes, he
Most of
does.
the copper wire.
Well, he
Most of
keeps
the
trying to
copper
steal.
wire.
He keeps
He
trying to
actually-
steal my chicken.
He actually put Rose over his
Ah.
shoulder and tried to leave with her the other day, so that's not happening.
Okay, in my defense of Dwayne, okay, he was drinking.
He's always
Yeah.
drinking.
Well, you don't complain when he's doing the wire work for you.
No. He should have better choices and wives for you. As New Jersey girl, really? You're
Well, to be
perfect
fair-
girl, really?
to be
That's
fair-
all Dwayne.
To be fair, you're taking advice from Dwayne, the man who's had
Well-
more ex-wives than Ric Flair.
He's the only person who knows you well enough to get the real you.
That's not true.
He is the only person who knows you well enough to get the real you. And the real you is quite disturbing at times. Thank you, Becca. It is now pinned. Please, for those
He's
who
the
are
only
on
person that
YouTube,
knows what size flamingo banana hammock you wear.
No, I don't wear banana hammock.
Oh God! I was
Please.
just gonna go make lunch. Now I can't.
what? The banana hammock? The
You can't.
flamingo banana
I
hammock?
can't.
I don't wear banana hammocks.
Well, she
It's
made
gotta-
banana. She made banana cream earlier today, and now she's got
Yes.
has a
Well,
different idea of what that cream is.
Your flamingo banana hammock has a little pocket for your little pecker.
I am going to send the skunks after you, Hank.
Yes,
Already have
for
them all
those
trained.
Those on YouTube, there's a special message for Mr. Shuggy, our longtime beloved Shuggy, in the side chat over on our YouTube channel from Griffey, who has touched down in America some time ago today. So Griffey's on the loose, people. Griffey's on the loose. Court's at lunch break. They were supposed to resume about 5 minutes ago, but they're always late. In other news, Chile de Castro was injured three times at the LA riots last night when he was poked in the chest by a police officer with a baton. He got hit in the back of the head with a thrown water bottle, and then he says he was shot by either a rubber bullet or we think it was a
Beanbag.
beanbag.
Yeah.
We did slow it down, and he just released the footage as well, that an officer did shoot in his general direction, that he flipped the phone camera over to his expression as he said, "I've been shot." And right before the flip, they've slowed it down on our Discord where you can see something did come at him. Whether it hit or not, you can't really tell because it wasn't really centered at his chest where he said it was hit.
What was it shot from?
Some sort of long rifle-ish looking thing. I don't know.
Academy Award performance. Academy Award.
Well, if it was a shotgun,
Owie.
it would either be a beanbag or a OC2 round.
Something supposedly hit him in the chest. He yelled, "I've been shot!"
I've
then
been
he
shot.
went back into his normal activity like nothing had happened, referring to it throughout the rest of the broadcast. And he tried to stick his fingers in the supposed hole because he always says that if someone is bleeding out, you must stick your fingers in their holes.
Because that doesn't create problems.
Is that why afterwards he was going around with his pants around his ankles walking backwards?
Yes.
I've been shot. Put your finger in my hole.
Please, no more. I need to eat lunch.
You know, next time he gets arrested, they're gonna tell him to drop his pants, and they're gonna look up there. There's gonna be a camera looking back at them because he already has a camera stuck up there. So,
yeah, how else is he gonna do? How else is he gonna take selfies?
Yeah, he's got the GoPro
cam. That's
he's
right.
got the GoPro for the prison. Yeah.
Yes, it'll be anus cam. You know it.
I told you they look up your butt.
I told
Here's
you
the
there were
video
6
proof.
guys staring up my butt.
Well, he's got to take selfies somehow since his heads are always up his ass.
Speaking of heads up the ass, hey, look, we're coming back from break.
Back to session, you may be seated.
All right, I appreciate the court personnel waiting so that we could have that voir dire. It was helpful. All right, so my rulings are very similar that they were this morning. So first of all, on the Darbert analysis regarding Dr. Laposata being able to testify as to the dog bite wounds, I find that she is not qualified. I'm not satisfied that the Darbert requirements have been made. Specifically, not just the experience, but the reliability of the methodology she used and how it was applied. So,
wonderful.
Based on that, she cannot testify to the dog wounds.
She's
And I
not
want to take a minute to
qualified, but that
differentiate this
hack they
testimony
let
with
on
Dr.
the
Russell's.
stand
I found that
was.
Dr. Russell was an expert, qualified to testify as to dog bite wounds, mainly from her experience in the ER, coupled with her being an ME. Dr. Laposata does not have that experience. I found that Dr. Russell's methodology was reasonable and was sufficient, and I found that it was appropriately applied. Remember that Dr. Russell was published in the area here. So regarding pages 10 and 11, all of the text on Dr. Laposata's report on pages 10 and 11 that start with the injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm are excluded. Now, moving on to the testimony regarding not being consistent with a motor vehicle strike, I find that Dr. Laposata's opinion on these not being the result of a motor vehicle collision exceed what is within her scope of expertise in some regards, not in all. In some regards, significantly, like I said this morning. So on page 17, that first sentence is in. The second sentence, tail lights are typically made of durable polycarbonate or acrylic plastic. That is out. I know the Commonwealth objected to, but I'm letting in. Mr. O'Keefe's patterned injuries on his right arm do not correspond to injuries that could have been produced by irregular fractured plastic pieces impacting the arm. She cannot say tail light, but she can say that based on her experience. His arm had no tissue bruising from impact. That also comes in. And the next sentence, neither did his skin show any array of irregular, unpredictable, randomly scattered cuts and scrapes at various angles and depths. That's within her realm of expertise as a medical examiner. The next page, though, I may have said this morning that first sentence, importantly, in review of that and review of the Tompkins case, that first sentence stays out because to me, it seems like that sentence depends on a biomechanical analysis, factors such as speed and force and the position of Mr. O'Keefe. So that's, oh, I'm sorry, page 18, the next page regarding the same subject matter. And the portion of the next sentence is also out. This results in bruising or bleeding under the skin. That's out. But Dr. Laposata can testify that Mr. O'Keefe had no bruising on his arms or torso. And that's it for that sentence. In particular, Mr. O'Keefe did not have bruises on his legs as shown by dissection of leg tissue and muscle at autopsy. That's it for that. And the conclusions are problematic to the extent that is consistent with this ruling and what we discussed on Friday. So that's it. That was just the text of her report. I have not begun to go through all of there's no PowerPoint with this, Mr. Jackson, right?
There's no PowerPoint.
All right. Do you intend on displaying any of these photographs?
I'm sorry.
Do you intend on displaying any of the photographs that are in her report?
Yes.
Happy Zoe. Happy Zoe.
All right, so you likely not get to that today. We've done important work, but we've wasted an awful lot of the jurors' time today. So I want to bring them in. And
My suggestion, we have to finish with that anyways.
right, we're going to do that now. So that'll give you an opportunity to pull your thoughts together.
Right, and I expect what I would do is my intention. I will go through her position. That will take me a good amount of time. I will go through the part of her initial analysis that will not include any of the photos, but I may need overnight to actually go through the court's ruling. It's very specific, and I want to be as
Imagine if the squeaky noise
Okay,
was coming
so
from court.
that as possible.
let me know what you intend to put in. All right, and there's a lot of text describing the photos that is out, right? It's just hearsay.
I mean, we've had Dr. Welch's PowerPoint.
That was not objected to. There's a big difference.
Yes, it was objected to.
So we'll deal with this tomorrow, with the photographs tomorrow.
I just want to let the court know, I'm not wasting the court's time.
Okay, thank you. And we're bringing the jurors in. Did the Commonwealth want to respond in any way?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Brennan
And
knows when to
there's
keep
a
his
motion on
fucking
Dr.
mouth
Renshaw.
shut.
We will give that, I haven't read it yet. We'll give that no more than 5 minutes tomorrow morning each side. This jury, you can tell just by looking at this jury, they're fed up. So,
Your Honor, the only thing I want to put on the record is, with regards to the court's ruling, I do want the record to reflect that is obviously it's over the defense objection.
sure.
And I just want to make for the record a quick comment. The Commonwealth waited until June 5th to even bring this up, to file a motion regarding Dr. Laposata. They have a report, and all reciprocal discovery was done in March 6th, 2025. That's document number 485.
Yeah.
And the Commonwealth was ordered to file whatever motions they wanted to, whatever motions in limine they thought were appropriate by March 7th, and they did not do that. They were supposed to be heard on March 18th.
Okay, so the jurors are coming in. We're going to mark the report and the CV for identification.
I just need to know what I can make.
You just made it.
I made it ish. I wasn't
Okay.
going to run it myself,
Okay.
but the point is,
Go ahead, real quick.
the point is, the Commonwealth has not explained the delay
So,
in making this motion. They have, and we're playing by the same rules, Judge.
so the basis of my ruling was not late disclosure. Okay? Late disclosure. Commonwealth says they're part.
That's not the court's missing the point. It's the opposite. We got late disclosure. We got late disclosure that they were objecting. They've had since March to object. They blew the motion in limiting time, and then they come in just before Dr.
All right.
Just before Dr. Laposata testifies. And now there's
Mr. Jackson, shut the hell up. She can't say it, but I can. You're not
Very clear.
helping.
Mr. Brennan, do you want to respond real quickly?
Your Honor, we can always object even during proffering of testimony. There's no foundation. It's a foundational issue.
And that's consistent with what my rulings were when I allowed other witnesses to testify that the defense could object if the foundation weren't properly laid. So bring them in, please.
Sorry about the squeaky ball. I forgot to mute.
Fine.
She's going crazy.
Mr. Jackson just does not know when to shut up. He just doesn't.
Do you imagine if that squeaky noise was coming from the courtroom?
Court is in session. Please be seated.
It would probably be Yannetti playing with it.
Jurors, you have been extraordinarily patient with us today. We're going to go straight through until 4 o'clock, and we're going to make every effort to not leave you waiting out there as long as you have.
Going to 4 o'clock today?
All right, Mr. Yannetti, is your witness ready?
Yeah, that's normal time.
All right, Mr. Tedman, whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, before the lunch break, you had identified 3 entrances to the front of 34 Fairview, leaving aside the 2 garage car doors. Do you recall that?
Yes.
May I have that last exhibit displayed, please? Not that one, the one that we discussed right before court. There it is. Maybe zoom in on that a little. Okay. What do you see on the screen at this point, sir?
I see the 2 rightmost entrances to the house, excluding the main front door.
Okay, which would be obviously to the left
To
of
the
this
left.
photo, particularly with regard to the 3rd entrance, the one in red. Could you describe that?
Yes, so it's if you're facing the house from the street, you're looking towards the west. So that door goes directly into the garage facing north.
Okay, so basically from the street, you don't have to enter the house, you can go into the garage directly.
That is directly into the garage, yes.
All right, and as we're looking at the house from this point, are we looking at it from the vantage point of Fairview Road?
Yes.
And that is a westerly direction toward the house, sir?
Correct.
In the course of doing your further work that you were asked to do in this case, did you peer inside the garage?
Yes, I did.
Did you see concrete steps and a ridge there and a hard concrete floor?
Yes.
I thought that was...
Jurors, disregard that answer.
You mentioned that you were asked to do some measurements. Can you describe what you were asked to do for the jury?
Yes, I was asked to measure from basically the mailbox area of the driveway to the various entrances to the house.
Did you take those measurements?
I did.
Okay, if I'd like to take them one at a time. First, did you measure from the end of the driveway next to the mailbox all the way to the main front door, which is not depicted on this photo?
Yes, I did.
How did you measure it?
I used my wheeled measuring device, and I walked directly across the lawn to the front door, well, to the bottom of the front steps, and then used it to go up the front steps straight to the door.
And what was the measurement, if you recall, from the mailbox area near the end of the driveway to the main front door on the left?
I believe it was 65 feet 9 inches, but I have notes if I
I think you got it right, sir.
Okay.
Next, did you measure from that same location near the street, the end of the driveway next to the mailbox, to the second front door, which is actually depicted in the exhibit that's on the screen?
I did.
And how did you measure that?
I walked along the edge of the driveway on the asphalt, right next to the grass, towards the house from the mailbox and the edge of the street, towards the house. I took a left onto the brick walkway, proceeded along that walkway, then took a right to the walkway that you can see right there, heading directly to the door, and went up onto the little decking area, and then those 2 steps directly to the doorstep.
Okay, so you walked essentially almost the whole length of the driveway?
Yes.
Before you took the left to get to where the steps start, going to that second front door?
Yes.
And then went up to the door itself?
Yes.
Do you recall from your memory what the measurement was?
I believe it was 70 feet 1 inch.
And finally, did you measure from that same end of the driveway near the street next to the mailbox to the red side door, which is the pedestrian entrance into the garage directly?
I did.
How did you measure that?
I did the same thing, walking directly from where the mailbox and the driveway intersect, basically, all the way up the driveway, took the same left onto the red brick pathway, took a right to go towards the front door, went up the 1 step that you can see, and then instead of going up the next 2 steps, I took a right directly towards the garage entry door.
So essentially the same path of travel, it's just you didn't go straight into the second front door, you took a right to go into the pedestrian entrance to the garage.
Correct.
And what was the measurement that you discovered having done that?
I believe it was 78 feet 3 inches.
Now, finally, could we have displayed the map of Cedar Crest, Fairview, and Chapman? There it is. Sir, are you able to see the street names from where you are? And if
Yes.
not, could we have the top street magnified so that the witness can see it? Okay, you see that?
I do.
What do you see that to be?
Cedar Crest Road.
Okay, if we could have the connecting street where the, that's it.
Fairview Road.
All right, and finally, the one down the bottom?
Chapman Street.
Okay, if we can get the whole map back up. Having seen those 3 street names, does that orient you as to what this is a map of?
It does.
And what is that?
This is the surrounding area of 34 Fairview Road, the neighborhood, basically.
Okay, and it includes the 2 connecting streets on either end?
Correct.
Does the red dot symbolize anything for you?
It looks to be where 34 Fairview Road is located.
Okay, and if you're on Fairview Road to the right of that red dot as it exists on that exhibit, and you're looking toward Fairview Road, what direction would you be facing?
I'd be facing west.
If I may have a moment, Judge?
Okay.
Further questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yes. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You had a wheel to measure,
Correct.
and so there's like a tape measure, and when you wheel it out, it gives a straight line?
No, it's two wheels with a meter in between them, and you roll it out in front of you.
I see. Your first measurement was from the driveway to the front door,
To the main front door to the far left, yes.
and that was about 63 feet?
I believe it was 65 feet, something like that. I have
65?
my notes, yes.
So suffice to say, if you were to leave the front door and come back to that spot, it would be an additional 65 feet back, right?
Yes.
The second measurement was from the bottom of the driveway to the middle door on the side?
Yeah, the second front door, yes.
Did you say that was about 70 feet?
It was, yes.
Okay. And again, if you were to come back, that would be an additional 70 feet?
It would.
And the last one was the door near the garage. Did you say that was further, around 80 feet?
78 feet 3 inches, I believe.
Is it one way?
Correct.
And back is another 78 feet?
Correct.
When you measured these, was it from the asphalt of the driveway or to the left of the mailbox as you're looking at Fairview?
It was to the right of the mailbox on the asphalt, as close to the mailbox as I could get.
Did you happen to take any measurements from the flagpole to the front door as far as distance?
I did.
And what was that?
I do not have the exact measurements. I'm not sure.
Do you have it in a report that you can look at?
I don't. No, not with me.
How about the flagpole to the middle door on the side? Did you take any measurements of that?
I'm not sure I took that one.
How about the flagpole to the furthest away door, which would be the door next to the garage? Did you take any measurements of that?
I think measurement to that, yes.
Right. And what was that number?
I don't know.
Do you have a report you could share with us?
I don't. No, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Did you ever measure if you were at the flagpole?
Sounds like
area,
bullshit.
How long it would take to walk up the street? Or how far it would be to walk up the street, up the driveway to any of those doors? Did you ever measure it that way?
I did.
And what was the distance if you were going to start at the flagpole, walk up the street, up the driveway, down the walkway to the front door?
I'm not sure that distance. Not positive the distance.
Was it over 80 feet?
It was.
And if you did the same route up the street, up the driveway, to the middle door, would you agree that would be well over 80 feet as well?
Can you repeat the question? How?
Sure. If we were to measure from the flagpole, up the street, up the driveway, to the middle door, that would be well over 80 feet?
Yes.
Same to the door next to the garage?
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, nothing further.
All right, you are all set, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would ask the court to ask Dr. Elizabeth Laposata to join us.
Okay.
Let's see how many of the areas there's not supposed to talk about they try and sneak in.
You're going to step up, face the clerk, and raise your right hand, please.
You solemnly swear the evidence you give to the court and jury in the case now hearing the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I do.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
May I inquire?
Yes, and Dr. Laposata, please speak right into that microphone,
I
okay?
will.
Thank you.
Doctor, can you please state your full name and spell your last name for the jurors?
Yes, Dr. Elizabeth Laposata, spelled Laposata.
I'm going to ask you, you have a softer voice. I'm going to ask you to pull that microphone right under your chin, if you don't mind. It's pretty adjustable.
Okay. Better?
That's better.
Okay.
That's better. Doctor, can you tell the jurors what you do for a living?
Yes, I'm a medical doctor and I subspecialize in forensic pathology.
Can you summarize your professional background?
Certainly, I graduated in 1975 from Bucknell University with a Bachelor of Science in Biology. I went to University of Maryland School of Medicine, where I graduated in 1979 with a Doctor of Medicine. I did my internship and fellowship at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, where I studied anatomic pathology, which is the study of the diseases of the body. I then did my subspecialty fellowship in St. Louis in forensic pathology, which is understanding causes of death and injuries to the body.
Currently, are you a professor?
Yes, I am.
And tell us where you work.
I own my own independent consulting practice, and I'm also an associate professor at Brown University School of Medicine.
How long have you taught at Brown University School of Medicine?
Since 1993.
And how long have you been a clinical associate professor of pathology either at Brown or before that?
Oh, gee, then that would have been since at least in the late 80s. I've been associate professors at the universities and medical schools where I've worked.
Doctor, at Brown University, let's take Brown first. What do you teach there?
I teach the second-year medical students. I teach a lecture in diseases of the heart, cardiomyopathy, and myocarditis. And I've been asked to give some specialized lectures in toxicology and forensic pathology.
Are you responsible for training medical students in the field of forensic pathology?
When I was a chief medical examiner, yes, we would have medical students, residents, come into the office so they could learn about what we do to understand cause and circumstances of death.
When you first got your medical license, did you then undertake to get certain board certifications and the like?
Yes.
Before we get to those board certifications, did you begin a practice in forensic pathology in some way or another?
After I finished my medical school and my anatomic fellowships and forensic pathology fellowships, then I was working in medical examiners' offices where I was examining deceased people to understand how they died.
When you get a medical license, is that statewide or is it nationwide?
Usually you get a state medical license.
And do you hold a state medical license?
Yes.
How many?
I have an active medical license in Rhode Island where I have my consulting practice, and I have inactive license in Maryland, Delaware, Missouri, Pennsylvania.
And you've been previously, at least before they were inactive, you were licensed in all 5 of those states?
Yes.
You already told us a little bit about your college. Did you mention Bucknell University? Your Bachelor of Science degree?
I think I did, yes.
At some point after you graduated from the University of Maryland School of Medicine, did you complete any residencies?
Yes, I did my residency at, excuse me, at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore in anatomic pathology.
Forensic pathology is different from anatomic pathology, correct?
Yes.
Did you also do any kind of residency in forensic pathology?
Yes, I did a fellowship in forensic pathology.
And what is the difference between, if you can sort of take us through that little by little, what is the difference between forensic pathology and anatomic pathology?
Anatomic pathology is sort of hospital-based pathology where we understand diseases of patients who are in the hospital and try to make clinical pathologic correlations to see if their diagnoses were correct, if the laboratory tests actually showed what we find at postmortem. And then forensic pathology deals more with understanding why the body stops functioning at a particular time. So that would be cause of death. And that can be sudden unexpected death or death due to violence.
And in forensic pathology, is that often associated with testimony in court cases that may deal with either on the civil side or the criminal side, coming in and testifying about things like cause of death and manner of death?
Yes.
What types of cases did you work on during your forensic pathology residency?
Oh, sudden unexpected natural death, gunshot wounds, knife wounds, sudden infant deaths, blunt force trauma, skeletonized remains, decomposed bodies, strangulation, the whole gamut of ways people can die unnaturally.
And what type, to contrast that, what types of cases did you work on during your anatomic pathology residency?
There you're mainly dealing with natural diseases and understanding heart disease or how somebody gets pneumonia, or looking at the brain to understand if a stroke was present. And that's especially important then to the doctors who are treating those patients, that they can see if the diagnostic tests were appropriate or if their treatments worked.
You mentioned fellowship a little earlier in your testimony. What is a fellowship?
A fellowship is after you've done your internship and residency. A fellowship is more specialized training, and I did that in forensic pathology.
So that answers my next question. You do hold a postgraduate fellowship position, correct?
Yes, yes.
And that was in forensic pathology specifically?
I'm board certified in anatomic and forensic pathology.
Were you a research associate at the Department of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine at University of Pennsylvania School of Law?
Yes.
I'm sorry, School of Medicine?
Yes.
Old habits.
Yeah.
What about postdoctoral research fellow? Were you ever a postdoctoral research fellow?
Yes, I did. I had an NIH research grant where I worked on, excuse me, how alcohol affects the heart.
Where was that?
That was at St. Louis University, and then when I was on staff at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia.
What about postdoctoral research fellow at dealing with the cardiovascular division of the Department of Medicine at Washington University?
Yes, that's where I did research on how alcohol affects the heart.
Was all this in furtherance of your broad education and training as a pathologist?
Yes.
I think you indicated that you have served as a chief medical examiner in answering one of the previous questions. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, I was appointed chief medical examiner for the state of Rhode Island in 1993, where I was responsible for all unexpected, unnatural deaths or deaths that involve violence in the state of Rhode Island. So I had to supervise the office, made sure I have adequate staff, made sure my forensic pathology staff were doing a good job, made sure I had an adequate scene investigative staff, so running the whole office.
Is that the highest appointment in the OCME's office?
Yes, it is.
In that position, did you oversee every single medical examiner in the state of Rhode Island?
Yes.
Did you also hold a position as the co-chair of Child Fatality Review Committee in the state of Rhode Island?
Yes, as part of being chief medical examiner.
Tell us a little bit about that. What was that appointment?
Well, there's a big concern about infants who die and children who die. So those are reviewed specifically by a group of doctors from the pediatricians and also then the medical examiner's office. So we look at every child and infant death.
How long did you serve as the chief medical examiner in the state of Rhode Island?
For 12 years.
Starting when and ending when?
Starting in 1993 and ending in 2005.
As the chief medical examiner for Rhode Island, did you ever have the responsibility to work on any mass disaster cases?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that. If you could start with the Egypt Air issue.
Yes. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. In 1999, the Egypt Air 990 took off from New York airport, and it crashed off the coast of Massachusetts, and 2,065 passengers died. And because of the force of the airplane going into the water, all the bodies were fragmented. So all the fragments were brought to my medical examiner's office. They actually vacuumed the ocean floor, and we had 2,600 some fragmented remains from that airplane crash, and that involved working with FBI, TSA to identify those individuals and understand exactly why they died.
What was your role and the role of your staff that you supervised in dealing with those other government agencies, the FBI, the NTSA, other entities, in terms of the fatalities that you did review as a medical examiner or the chief medical examiner of Rhode Island?
Well, I dealt with families from around the globe who had relatives on that flight, and then the FBI was looking into what may have caused the crash. The Egyptian government, who owned the airplane, was also there and interested in understanding what happened. And we were also, tasked with identifying everybody who was on the plane and to see if that matched the passenger manifest list. So were there people on the plane who shouldn't have been on the plane? So that sort of thing.
In terms of matching that manifest, were you the head of the department for the medical examiner's office that was responsible for trying to figure out who was on the plane and match those remains with the individuals that were on the manifest?
Yes, we made the positive forensic identifications and returned the fragmented human remains to their families.
Doctor, did you also deal with the tragic Station nightclub fire?
Yes.
In what capacity did you deal with that?
Again, this was a nightclub that burned down. It burned down very rapidly with a very hot fire, and that was in Rhode Island, and there were 100 fatalities from that. So those come to the medical examiner's office. I had my investigator at the scene throughout that time of recovering the bodies, and I was charged with determining the identity and the cause of death.
Were you successful, or your staff successful, in determining the identity of most of those individuals who perished?
Yes, all of them. We worked around the clock for 3 days to get that done.
And you were the head of that task
was.
force. Before you became the chief medical examiner in Rhode Island, did you previously work as a medical examiner under somebody else?
Yes.
Tell me about that. What was your first post as a assistant medical examiner?
My first post was after I did my fellowship training in St. Louis, Missouri. I was an assistant medical examiner for the city of St. Louis.
Were you ever an assistant medical examiner in Philadelphia?
Yes, so after St. Louis, I moved to Philadelphia, where I was on staff at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, and I ran the autopsy service there at the hospital, and I was also an assistant medical examiner for the city of Philadelphia. After that, I was an assistant medical examiner for the state of Delaware, and then I came to Rhode Island as I was chosen to be chief.
Dr. Laposata, can we put dates on that? Assistant medical examiner in St. Louis, from when to when? Do you remember?
Oh my, let's see. May I look at my CV?
Sure, with the court's permission.
Yes. Okay. Yes, from 1983 to 85, I was an assistant medical examiner for the city of St. Louis. Then in 87 to 91, I was the assistant medical examiner for the city of Philadelphia. 91 to 93, assistant medical examiner for the state of Delaware. And then 1993 to 2005, I was chief medical examiner for the state of Rhode Island.
Thank you for that. Dr. Laposata, have you held any faculty positions as in the field of forensic pathology that qualify you as an expert in this case?
Yes, every medical examiner's office I worked in, I also had faculty appointments to teach medical students and pathology residents. So I had faculty appointments at Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, at the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, and in Rhode Island.
Let's talk about those one at a time. Describe your teaching responsibilities at Brown Medical School, if you wouldn't mind. And that, by the way, that's from 1994 to present, correct?
93 to, well, as a medical examiner, it was 1993 to 2005. And there I would teach the medical students. We had rotations through the medical examiner's office, and also the pathology residents would rotate through the medical examiner's office, where I would teach them how to do a medical legal autopsy, how to understand cause and manner of death, especially non-natural and traumatic deaths.
With regard to your teaching responsibilities specifically, are you still teaching?
I'm teaching in the cardiovascular section now, but since I'm not chief of the medical examiner's office, I obviously don't have students rotating through there anymore.
Were you a lecturer in the role of medical examiner? Did you do a seminar in that regard at or associated with Brown University School of Medicine?
Yes.
Did you do some sort of a forensic pathology rotation for pathology residents from 1994 to 1995 in that capacity as well?
Yes, we would have the pathology residents who were at the hospital studying anatomic pathology come to the medical examiner's office so they could understand the discipline of forensic pathology.
What is cardiomyopathy?
Cardiomyopathy is a muscular disease of the muscles of the heart.
And what is myocarditis?
Inflammation of the heart muscle.
Did you ever teach or lecture on those issues?
Yes, I teach every year. I teach the second-year medical students about those heart diseases.
Have you ever taught anatomy and physiology to EMTs?
Yes.
Or in the EMT setting?
Yes.
And what about a class known as the 2-hour primer on forensic pathology?
I've taught a lot. I don't recall that particular one.
How about pathology residents morning conference in 2009?
Oh, yes. I give lectures to the pathology residents at the medical school at Brown Medical School in forensic pathology.
You also mentioned that you were an adjunct professor for biomedical forensic sciences and forensic anthropology in the Department of Anatomy and Neurology. Is that a division of the graduate school, Boston University School of Medicine?
Yes, I taught in the master's program in the medical school at Boston University School of Medicine for a master's in forensic science, where I taught a 40-hour course on forensic pathology and another 40-hour course on medical legal death investigation.
Were you actually the course director in that position?
Yes.
And were you also a course director in medical legal death investigation from 2006 to 2013?
Yes.
And what about a course director in forensic toxicology from 2006 to 2012?
Correct.
Did you direct the studies in biomedical forensic sciences, GMS, from 2012 to present?
Yes.
Describe that. What is that?
The graduate medical sciences?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I would review and be on the board to examine projects that the students were doing to get a master's degree.
Were you also an assistant professor in the Department of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine at University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine?
Yes.
Okay. Without going into every single class that you taught, did you teach from 1987 to 1991, attending staff medical pathology?
Yes.
What is that, just a general outline of what that teaching course was?
That's when I was at the hospital, the University of Pennsylvania. I ran the autopsy service, so I taught medical students and pathology residents about autopsy practice.
I want to ask you sort of broadly, can you describe your major teaching and clinical responsibilities when you were at University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine in the field of forensic pathology? What were your main clinical and teaching positions?
Well, I ran the autopsy service there, so I taught the medical residents and medical students autopsy pathology, and I was also a assistant medical examiner there, so I taught and started the forensic fellowship in forensic pathology.
Have you ever been qualified as an expert witness in forensic and anatomic pathology in state and federal courts?
Yes.
How many times would you say you've qualified as an expert?
Over 40 years, maybe several hundred.
How about in Massachusetts?
That includes all of them.
Okay. Have you ever qualified? Let me list a couple of states. In Massachusetts?
Yes.
California?
Yes.
Connecticut?
Yes.
Delaware?
Yes.
Florida?
Yes.
Illinois?
Yes.
Maryland?
Yes.
Minnesota?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
New York?
Yes.
Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Rhode Island?
Rhode Island, yes.
Have I left anything out? That's
Did you
about
say
all.
Massachusetts?
I did.
Okay, then
We
you're
started
fine.
with Massachusetts.
Okay, you're fine.
What types of topics have you qualified to testify about as an expert forensic and anatomic pathologist?
Really, anything that has to do with circumstances and cause of death. So it doesn't really matter, what type of injury or a sudden unexpected death. Usually it involves examination, study of information from the scene, information from the autopsy, police and investigation and medical records, and we put that all together and figure out the circumstances as to how someone died and why their body stopped functioning. So that's the basis of forensic pathology.
Dr. Williams, excuse me for just a second. Your Honor, maybe approach for one brief.
Sidebar. goodness gracious. Mr. Alessi was late to the sidebar. That's sidebar number 8 for those following along at home. And yes, the heavy breathing you're hearing is that of the witness. I've been observing it. She's just too damn close to the microphone.
There's been several witnesses that have positioned the microphone way too close to their mouths.
Yeah, her right now, it's really something.
Well, the dog bite witness, Dr. Roberts? Russell. Yeah, she was an over-the-top mouth breather.
I thought it was... Go ahead.
I kept thinking she was eventually going to go, I am your mother.
Well, I thought it was me because I had the painter's mask on because the air quality is horrible here today. And I'm like, I'm nowhere near the microphone. So, and I had it muted. So I'm like, okay, who the hell is it? It's not Hank. It's not Phil. Phil was muted for most of the time. Then I realized anytime she started talking, it stopped. So it was her.
Okay, enough with the goddamn Canadian wildfire, Jim. We've heard it already. Okay? Enough.
You're going to hear it 10 more times today.
Enough.
Yes. But at least it'll be the excuse for me to go to bed after this show and not make your show tonight.
Good.
Even if your show suddenly gets a goal for tonight, it wouldn't be me doing it, would it? Because I'll be asleep. Good.
Rather than send you back, I'm going to keep you here for 2 minutes. Dr. Laposata, I'm
Yes.
going to ask you to step down and you can go back to the court officer into that back room.
Okay, certainly.
And jurors, rather than send you downstairs and back up the stairs to come back in 5 minutes, we're just going to, I'm going to sit here, you all can sit here, we're just going to be in recess for 5 minutes while we sit.
Whoa. Ruh-roh.
Something's going on.
Ruh-roh.
I wasn't watching the computer. What'd I miss?
They came back from sidebar. She said the jurors are going to sit there, and they're going to sit there, and the expert is going to leave the courtroom, and it's going to be 5 minutes in recess. So apparently they're briefing the witness on what she can and cannot testify to.
Oh,
so many changes were made as to what she can say and what she can't say. Gia, why don't you describe the salad you allegedly had? So there.
Yes, and it would kill Jim because he's allergic to everything.
Yes. Including the air right now because of the Canadian wildfires.
I might fix myself a salad for a snack here in a little bit.
Okay, this is outside of the presence of the jury.
I have some Alaskan king crab meat I think I might put on the salad.
Crab meat's just way too damned expensive right now. And I don't trust the imitation crab meat.
Thank you. Dr. Laposata, you mentioned several topics about which you testified and qualified as an expert. Testified about it as an expert in several different states, several different courtrooms. Have you been qualified as an expert by those courts in those topics about which you just discussed?
Yes.
Do you hold any specialty certifications in the field of forensic pathology?
Well,
Oh,
I
nice,
am board
Mrs. Thumb.
certified in forensic pathology.
What about the American Board of Pathology?
Yes, the American Board of Pathology puts forth examinations that are a 2-day examination in the various disciplines of pathology. And if you successfully complete those examinations, then you become a diplomat of the American Board of Pathology in whichever subspecialty you're in. And I became a diplomat in the subspecialty of anatomic and forensic pathology.
What about a certification in basic blood stain pattern analysis, the International Association of Identification?
Yes, I had a week-long course in understanding blood pattern analysis.
Can you tell us a little bit about the National Registry Emergency Medical Technician certification that you hold?
Yes, I took training to become an EMT.
Have you received a number of honors and awards in the field of forensic pathology?
I have.
What do those awards include?
May I look at my CV again? Sure. Thank you. I had teaching awards from Brown University School of Medicine. I was featured in a book by Faces of Public Health as having run a good medical examiner's office. I was nominated for Woman of the Year in Rhode Island for my work as chief medical examiner in improving the office and handling those 2 mass disasters. I was honored by Victims' Rights and Services Awards because I've always been aware of the fact that as a forensic pathologist, I am the last doctor this person is going to have, so I try to help the family understand what happened. I was honored for my work in the mass disaster in Egypt Air 990 plane crash. Let's see. I was Outstanding Woman in Public Service for Providence, Rhode Island. I've gotten teaching awards from Brown University School of Medicine. I was elected to the Board of Trustees in the Delaware SIDS Foundation and the Philadelphia SIDS Foundation. And then we're back to my medical school.
If you could pull the microphone a little closer to your chin.
It's very hard because the chair doesn't push in it.
Oh, the chair doesn't move. Okay.
Oh, I got it. I moved.
We'll make do.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Laposata. What is the American Academy of Forensic Sciences?
That's one of our medical associations that is specific to forensic sciences.
Have you ever held a chaired position there?
Yes.
What position was that?
I was voted into a fellowship position.
Were you the chairman of Forensic Science Research, the Forensic Science Research Committee?
Yes.
What's the National Association of Medical Examiners?
It's also called NAME. It's another international association of forensic pathologists.
Were you a member of that organization?
Yes.
And at some point, did you get elected to the board of directors for that organization?
Yes.
And ultimately, did you become a fellow for that organization?
I did.
What is the American Society of Clinical Pathologists?
That's a society that is for people who practice anatomic pathology and understand how to interpret laboratory results and biopsies.
Did you become a fellow in 1991 until present for that organization?
Yes.
What's the difference between a member and a fellow?
A member is a lower level, and then you can be promoted to fellow if the board of directors feels that you've contributed in your field.
And were you associated with the College of American Pathologists?
Yes.
Were you a fellow there as well?
Yes.
What about the World Association for Medical Law?
Yes.
What about the American Association for Clinical Chemistry?
Yes, I'm a member.
Rhode Island Medical Women's Association, what is that?
Well, it's basically what it says. It's women doctors in Rhode Island.
Were you elected to the board of directors for that organization?
Yes,
Ultimately, were you elected as the president of that organization?
I was.
Rhode Island Medical Society, what is that?
It's an organization of doctors who practice in Rhode Island.
Are you a council member there?
Yes,
And what about the Massachusetts Medical Legal Society?
yes, I was a member there. They have disbanded since.
It doesn't exist anymore?
No,
When it was up and running, you were a member in good standing?
yes,
Good, good. Pennsylvania Association of Pathologists, what about that?
yes. When I practiced in Pennsylvania, I was a member of that organization.
Did you, in addition to be a member there, did you also hold a chaired position? Were you the chairman for the Committee on Forensic Pathology?
Yes,
Have you served on any editorial boards of any scholarly journals or
Yes.
publications? Tell me
Yes.
about that.
I've reviewed articles submitted for the Journal of Forensic Sciences and the National Association of Medical Examiner Journals.
Did you also hold an editorial position for the American Journal of Forensic Medicine and Pathology?
Yes,
Is that one of the medical journals that is used throughout the country by other medical professionals, other medical examiners?
yes,
It's a resource
yes,
and a text.
correct.
Have you authored any peer-reviewed publications in the field of forensic pathology?
Yes, I have.
Can you tell us about some of those publications?
Let's see if I got here. Yeah, I've written chapters in textbooks about medical legal death investigation and forensic pathology. I've published articles involving alcohol metabolism, some drugs, cocaine. Let's see. Alcohol metabolism in the heart, I mentioned. And so I've published 22 papers, and I've written several chapters.
You already said that you're board certified, double board certified in anatomic and forensic pathology. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now that you've gone through your education, training, background, publications, teaching positions, and chairs that you've held, I want to ask you a really simple question. What does a forensic pathologist do?
Yeah. We are the last doctor that the dead person has, and we figure out what happened to the body to cause their death. And we sign the death certificate that says how the body came to die and also indicates the circumstances under which the death occurred.
Are medical examiners also tasked with determining both manner and cause, not just one or the other?
Both, yes.
What is the manner of death and how is it distinguished from the cause of death?
The cause of death is what happens to the body to cause it to stop functioning. And the manner of death refers to circumstances under which the death occurred. So there's hundreds of thousands of causes of death or why the body stops functioning, but there's only a few manners of death, which would be natural, accident, suicide, homicide, or undetermined.
Those five main categories of manner of death, is that the responsibility or one of the responsibilities of a forensic medical examiner to determine that the death fits into one of those five categories?
Correct.
What does it mean when the death is deemed undetermined?
Yeah, when the manner of death is undetermined, that means at the time the death certificate was signed, there was not enough information to put it into either accident, natural suicide, or homicide. So at the time the death certificate was signed, there was not enough information to put it into one of those other categories. It doesn't mean that if more investigation takes place, then you might be able to put it in one of those other categories.
If a manner of death is deemed at a particular time undetermined, at that time, it's because it lacks sufficient additional information. Is that correct? what types of information does a medical examiner, forensic pathologist consider in making these determinations between natural accident, homicide, suicide, undetermined?
Well, first you have the findings from the examination of the body. So that's sort of a starting place to see what happened to the body. Then you need to also look at the scene investigation. You need to look at any police reports and witness statements, and also medical history of the deceased. And using those 4 sources of information, and using your training and experience, you can either say this is a natural death, this is a self-inflicted death, it's a suicide, it's an accidental death, it's a homicide, or if all that information doesn't allow you to put to a reasonable degree of medical certainty into any one of those categories, then you have to leave the manner undetermined. And if more information becomes available later, then you can change that death certificate.
What if no more information comes available later?
It just stays as undetermined. There are cases where there's just not enough information to put it in one of those other categories.
Without getting into what they may be, did you reach any opinions and conclusions in connection with this case?
Yes.
What materials and information did you consider in reaching your opinions and conclusions in this particular case?
Yes. I have my list of materials I reviewed. I reviewed Mr. O'Keefe's autopsy report, the report of the examination of his brain, the toxicology report, and the entire medical examiner file. I studied 100 and some autopsy photos, including photographs of the brain, and then there were 70 other photographs at autopsy taken by a state trooper who was at the examination. I reviewed Mr. O'Keefe's medical records from Good Samaritan Medical Center and the EMS run sheet. I reviewed photographs of Mr. O'Keefe's clothes that were taken at the crime lab. I reviewed photographs of pieces of tail light, hard plastic, clear, black, red. I reviewed photographs of the outside of Karen Reed's SUV. I reviewed the Canton Police Department incident report on the death. I reviewed 100 and some photographs taken by Canton Police of the outside of the house at 34 Fairview Road in Canton. I reviewed some photographs taken by the real estate agent who was going to sell the house of the inside.
In total, putting them in categories, did you review the forensic autopsy?
Yes.
Did you review all of the files associated with the medical examiner's office in this particular case related to the autopsy of John O'Keefe?
Yes.
Did you review the scene investigation through police reports and other things?
Yes.
Photographs as well?
Yes.
Did you review the police reports that were associated with the initial investigation in this case as well as follow-ups?
Yes.
Did you review witness statements and things of that sort?
Yes, if they were included in the police report.
That was my next question. Those witness statements would be included in the police reports that you otherwise reviewed, correct?
Yes.
What about Mr. O'Keefe's medical history as much as you had of it?
Yes, I reviewed his medical history.
And what about hospital records?
His medical history was in the hospital records.
Understood. What method did you use or methodology did you use in forming the opinion that we'll get to in just a few minutes?
Well, in order to arrive at a conclusion of how somebody dies and what the cause of death is, we have to put all our facts out, and then we say, how could these facts have come to be? So it's called like a differential diagnosis. So like if you go to your doctor and you have a white blood cell count, then the doctor would say, well, how many ways do you get this white blood cell count? So that's a differential diagnosis, and then you go from that list and pare it down by getting more data till you come to one final diagnosis. So that's the process of determining how somebody dies and the circumstance around it.
Is it fair to say that you have a pretty significant background, training, and experience regarding coming to the conclusion of cause and manner of death?
40-plus years.
And how many autopsies in total?
Well, myself, I've probably done over 3,000, and then I have observed and reviewed maybe 7,000 more.
So that's in total over 10,000 autopsies, if you were to estimate, over 40 years?
Probably.
In addition to just autopsies, how many death investigations, separate and apart from autopsies, have you been involved with?
Well, the autopsy usually has a corresponding death investigation with it.
Do you have experience in examining and identifying wounds, not necessarily the cause and manner of death, but wounds that are associated with someone on whom you're performing an autopsy or you're supervising an autopsy?
Yes, and looking at the injuries on the body and understanding what caused them is a huge part of forensic pathology.
Have you ever conducted or overseen any autopsies of individuals involved in vehicle-pedestrian collisions?
Yes.
How many times, if you had to estimate?
No, hundreds.
100 or hundreds?
Hundreds.
When was it that you first started training on the issue of wound pattern recognition that helps assist you with coming to your conclusions, whether it be auto pedestrian incidents or otherwise?
Yeah, well, understanding wound patterns and injuries is a big part of forensic pathology because we want to identify what caused a particular pattern. So understanding that whole complex bag of injuries begins when you start your forensic pathology training, which was when I started back in '81.
In addition to the cause of death, which might be whatever, a gunshot, something, does the pathologist also undertake an examination of the rest of the body that's not so obvious, other wounds, etc., that might tell a more defined story?
Yes, we look at the entire body, we look at the clothing, we look at the outside of the body, then we do the internal examination in order to understand not only why the body stopped functioning, which is the cause of death, but also things that could have contributed to it or helped to understand the circumstances around how that death occurred.
When you say the body, you mentioned the clothing. Why is the clothing important? Is that part of the body for a forensic medical examiner?
Oh, yes, it is. You always have to look at the clothing because it has materials on it that may be important as to how injuries occurred. So it's every time you do an autopsy, you have to always make sure you have the clothing. Many times it would have been taken off at the hospital, but then I would always ask my staff, tell the police, we've got to get the clothes, have to look at the clothes.
What is a gross examination?
A gross examination is not actually like gross, grotesque, but it means like without microscopes. It means just looking with your naked eye.
Is it important to look at a body, a deceased person, when you're conducting an autopsy from head to toe for outside obvious wounds that you can see on the gross anatomy outside?
Oh, yes, and also to collect any trace evidence that may be present on the body.
Are forensic medical examiners trained to do that?
Oh, yes.
Are you trained to do that?
Absolutely.
In addition to a gross examination on the outside of the body, is it also important to look on the inside of the body?
Yes.
Are there wounds and injuries that might be hidden by the dermis, for instance, the skin, that might not be so obvious on a gross examination of a body?
Yes, you have to look inside the body.
And what's the mechanism of doing that?
Excuse me. We make surgical incisions in the body so we can examine the brain, the neck, all the organs in the chest, all the organs in the abdomen, and depending on the case, we may make incisions in the arms and legs to look for evidence of injuries.
What about x-rays? Are x-rays an important part of an examination in an autopsy?
Yes, they're usually done before the autopsy is started, and we look for changes in the bones or any foreign material that might be present in the body, like a bullet.
Dr. Laposata, have you ever exercised wound pattern recognition in your position as a forensic pathologist? Or do you do it every time?
Oh, all the time.
Have you ever taught any courses or given lectures on wound identification and wound pattern recognition?
Yes, it's part of understanding blunt force trauma, sharp force trauma, gunshot wounds. They all make injury patterns on the body that the pathologist can then relate to what caused that injury.
With regard to the case that's before us, what injuries did you observe with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's head specifically?
I observed that he had evidence of blunt force trauma to the back of his head.
Are those injuries consistent with a particular type or pattern of patterned injury?
Yes.
Describe that for us, please.
There in the back of his head, a little bit to the right-hand side, was a horizontal tearing of the scalp, and that's called a laceration. And surrounding that were linear scrapes that were vertical in orientation. So that is an injury pattern. And then you have to think, well, what could cause that injury pattern? And so then you go from there.
Did you also, in addition to looking at, by the way, how did you make that assessment about the injury? Was it photographs?
Yes.
Is that a normal way for forensic pathologists to make an assessment? Is that an acceptable methodology to make an assessment of a wound pattern by the use of anatomical photographs?
Oh, absolutely.
Have you done it before?
Oh, hundreds of times.
What is a coup contra coup injury?
Oh, it's a very interesting, peculiar injury to the head. When you have a blow to the head, the blow can either be the stationary head and there's a blow to it, or you can have the head that's moving and gets the blow. So looking at a pattern of coup contra coup helps the forensic pathologist differentiate that. A coup contra coup injury examines the coup, which is where the impact occurred, and then we look at what's 180 degrees opposite that impact, and that's called the contra coup, or like opposite the coup. And that injury pattern helps us determine whether a person was just having a fixed head and somebody hit it, or whether the head was just standing and went down to the ground. The coup contra coup of a falling or being pushed backward has injury patterns where the impact occurred, but then there's also injury patterns 180 degrees opposite from that. And that happens because the brain is floating in cerebral spinal fluid, and when the head comes down, the brain is a little bit behind, so you get the bang on the back of the head, but then because the brain is floating, it hits the inside of the opposite side of the head. And so that makes the contra coup pattern. And that tells us that there's been a fall backwards and hitting the head.
Is that consistent, a coup contra, just in general, a coup contra coup injury, consistent with a linear acceleration of the head by a fall, an unbroken fall straight back?
Correct. There's also some angular force in that as well.
Understood. In order to determine whether or not Mr. O'Keefe suffered from a coup contra coup injury, can that be done by a gross examination, or does it have to be surgical?
We would look at, well, first we look at the outside, but then we have to look at injuries to the scalp, and we look at the skull, see where the skull fractures are, and in particular to look at the brain and see where the damage is to the brain. And there should, in a fall backwards, you have damage to the brain at the site of impact, but you also have damage to the brain 180 degrees opposite from that. And that tells you it's a fall backwards.
In the case before us, dealing with John O'Keefe, were you able to look at the scalp and the injuries associated with the scalp from a gross perspective?
Yes.
Were you also able to look at the skull and possible fractures that Mr. O'Keefe suffered on his skull?
Yes.
And what about the brain? Did you have evidence of a dissection such that you could see the brain and determine whether or not there was a coup contra coup injury associated with the brain?
Yes, I had a full examination of the brain available.
Were Mr. O'Keefe's head injuries consistent with a coup contra coup injury?
Yes.
Could you describe that, specifically his head injuries, to the jurors, please?
Well, as we say, he has a pattern head injury on the back of his scalp, where there is a tearing of the scalp, and then vertically above that, there is some little areas of scraping to the skin. So that tells me that Mr. O'Keefe went backwards onto something that had a little ridge, but it also had some irregularity to it to cause the different scrapes before you get to the tearing of the scalp. Then when we look at the skull, he had a massive skull fractures that originated, started in the back of his head. They came around to the front. They went under the base of his brain, under the skull, under the base of the brain, and it came into the front of the skull at the orbital plates and fractured that, and that caused some bleeding in his upper eyelids. When the brain was examined inside the brain, I could see that the brain had become swollen and parts of it had herniated or moved down the area where the spinal cord is, and that's called brainstem herniation, and that is why the brain stops functioning and why your body stops functioning when you have a severe head injury.
You indicated that the wound pattern suggested a ridge or ledged surface.
Yes.
Could you explain that in more detail, please?
Yes. So if I were looking at it, I would see the break in the scalp. Then I would see several sort of irregularly placed scrapes of the skin that kind of look like pencil marks. And so that means that something with granularity he hit first, then it moved up a little, broke the scalp, and then moved on a little bit above that.
Would you expect to see that if Mr. O'Keefe had fallen backward onto a perfectly flat surface?
No, it has to be a surface that has some small ridges in it to make those little vertical patterns.
Dr. Laposata, what is ecchymosis?
Ecchymosis is a medical term for bruise.
Did you see any ecchymosis on Mr. O'Keefe that he suffered as a result of the coup contre coup injury to the back of his head?
He had a bruise on his brain at the back of the brain and at the front of the brain.
What would the outer, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
What would you see around his eyes regarding ecchymosis?
Yes, when you have, when the brain slaps forcefully against the base of the skull, the delicate bones above the eye break, and that's again the coup contre coup, where the brain slaps forward, and when those delicate bones are broken, there's bleeding, and that bleeding then goes right down into the upper eyelids, so it kind of looks like you have black eyes, but there's not been any punch to the face. It's only come from the skull fracture. That's sometimes called raccoon eyes, because you look like a little raccoon.
Did you see any skin injury to either one of Mr. O'Keefe's upper eyelids?
Yes, he had a small kind of slit-like defect horizontal on his right upper eyelid.
Would the ecchymosis on its own produce that type of?
No, the blood seeping down into his upper eyelids was from the skull fractures.
Was the laceration above his eyelid on the right side a separate injury altogether?
Yes, it was.
Based on your training experience, do you have an opinion as to whether or not what that eyelid laceration might be consistent with?
Some application of force which broke the skin.
Could that be from an object?
Possible.
Could it be from a fist?
Possible.
Sustained us to the floor, Mr. Jackson.
Give me some possibilities of what might cause that laceration above his right eyelid.
So it's not possibilities.
Give me, in your opinion, what you believe could have caused or produced the injury to the upper right eyelid.
So I'm going to see you at sidebar here.
Sidebar. He's trying to get the witness to say dog bites so she can have that introduced.
On the upper eyelid?
Well, that's what her expertise is, supposedly.
Yeah, but she's talking about the upper eyelid right now, not the arm.
Well, I wouldn't see any other reason for the judge to be that pissed off. I'll see you at sidebar
No,
right now.
she was excluded from being a dog bite expert by the judge, so that's not what her
Yes, but
expertise is.
she's upset because the defense is trying to get her to say a punch created that laceration on the eyelid.
Yeah. They're trying to work out an alternate cause of death, which is not a car.
That has not been introduced.
Right. And the judge also said that she couldn't, offer an opinion on that.
How could it be a punch if there was a piece of glass in the wound that their own client admits to removing when they found him in the snow?
I don't know.
I had to air quote when I said found in the snow.
And in other news in the world, Regan Benson is having some sort of parking dispute in Inglewood. The cops were called, but no arrests were made.
Aww.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Laposata, you just mentioned that the laceration above the right eyelid was consistent with the application of force, correct?
Correct.
You said it could come from some object, is that right?
Correct. It was fairly small. Could be is some sort of object.
Is it also consistent with a fist?
Sure, a fist is an object.
Okay. Your Honor, at this point, I hate to do this again. May we approach? This is probably a good time. We talked about it at sidebar.
Can you do anything to fill up the jury's time for the next 10 minutes, and then we can do this?
Not without what we discussed at sidebar.
Come on up for a minute, okay? Both of you, come on up quickly.
Sidebar.
I'm back. I'm back. Did you miss me? Did you miss me? Did you miss me?
Look how important
Yes,
Karen
but we're
is.
working on her aim.
She
Did you
said
miss
both
me?
of you come up, and then Karen went up.
Well,
And yes, we
yeah.
missed you, Gia.
Well, Karen's in charge.
Yeah.
She pinches
so
Alan
happy.
Jackson every time she wants him to
We're
keep
still on
going.
track. We will start. I'm going to have you show up a half hour later than we normally do, because I expect to have 10 minutes with the lawyers, but we see sometimes with 10 minutes naturally in the course of any case can turn into. So I don't want you to be waiting as much as you waited today. So if you've taken half an hour more to get in here, whatever time we normally meet, the court officers will tell you. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow will be a full day, and we will make every effort that it's filled with as much time here in court for you without sidebar conferences, without delays for us to have hearings.
Yeah,
So
right.
tomorrow, plan on a full day.
Talk to
Please
Jackson
do not
about that.
discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. Be careful again with your social media use, and we'll see you tomorrow. So Dr. Laposata,
Yes.
you can step right up, you can just follow the jury, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. If you can be here, make sure you're ready to go at 9.
Well, let's see
Thank
what
you,
they're
Your Honor.
doing now. We had clean hands.
I'll be right back. I need some hand sanitizer and cleans here.
All right, so can you argue the Commonwealth's motion that I received this morning regarding Dr. Renshaw? Can we just do that now? Okay. No, that's fine. So we'll do that first thing at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. The basis of the Commonwealth's, I've read the motion. I think the motion is clear. I'll hear you both tomorrow on it. All right. And you'll take care of the photographs, whatever photographs in her report you intend to put in.
Is the court hasn't made a order yet, but it seemed like the court was leaning toward not allowing any text on the photographs.
So that was just at a quick review. I had not I just read the content, the text part for the arguments for today, the arguments that were brought up today. I wasn't anticipating everything that we heard today on this, so it took a while. I did not get to look at specifically those. But to the extent that it's hearsay, whether it considers anything about dogs, clearly the dog, things that have been excluded have to come out of the photographs. All right.
The other photos deal with gastric mucosa.
I think those have been shown, and I know the Wisniewski spots one is in evidence. The brain photographs are not coming in. The brain photographs that are different than what's already, the brain photographs in her report.
Understood.
They're-
My biggest issue is the stomach lining is a bigger issue, and then some photographs in whether it's like the car that's probably already in, things of that nature.
So tell me what you think is more of an issue, more of what you want. So I don't think the photographs on pages 4 or 5 come in. They don't add anything, and they are extremely inflammatory.
I'm not looking to enter the, I'm not looking to get rid of those.
All right, the photos on page 6, I believe, are already in evidence. So this is,
That's a Lucas machine.
right, just a textbook photo of a Lucas machine.
Correct.
Is there an objection to that, Mr. Brennan?
No, thank you.
Okay. So do you want all of that in, or just the photograph that's got color to it?
I'd actually like all of it in. She will explain what effect it has on the pancreas and stomach lining, and send it to the Wisniewski spots for lack thereof.
Okay.
Page 14, I think these are all in evidence otherwise, but I would like this particular, it's all in one spot.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, so 1 is in. Point number 1, that was in evidence, and those 2 photographs. This is all for number 1. What was?
These are all close-ups of the same photo that is already in evidence.
Okay.
The right sleeve. So I'd like to use this because it speaks to her evaluation of these particular.
All right. How does she know it's blood staining on the fabric around the puncture? I'm just curious.
The blood stain on fabric around the puncture.
Yes.
I'm assuming she's getting that from the lab. They tested it.
Okay. I don't recall testimony regarding. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just don't recall it. So I just need to know the source. All right.
Pull that out.
No objections to the photos, you do have an objection. Yeah, go with the photos.
Okay. 13A and 13B?
Yes.
Yep, so 13B's out because of the dog bite. Let me see. All right. So if we keep out the blood staining, Mr. Brennan, is there an objection? Oh, puncture. What's the objection for the Commonwealth on 13A?
The opinion outward tearing, the opinion blood staining.
I have no issue with blood stain coming out. Outward tearing that is her opinion of what it looks like.
Okay, so we're going to have to see if she's qualified to do that, to testify to that. All right. What's the next page?
report.
What page?
I don't have the page number, Judge. Hold it up.
Page 5.
Page 5. It shows the cross-section of the brainstem.
That's what I was saying. I didn't see how that was coming in.
I certainly don't want the one in that is sculpted. Highly graphic. This is no more graphic than the supplement.
I disagree, but why does she have to use this photograph?
In furtherance of her determination of the conflict of injury, it supports that. I didn't put it in during that conversation.
Okay.
But
There's no contention that coup contra coup is the cause of the brain injury, correct?
there is contention that the coup contra coup is, yes, that is the contention. I don't think there's any controversy. That's what the.
I thought that's what Dr. Wolf testified to, no?
Consistent. I don't think there's any disagreement.
Right. So I don't know why we need this photograph.
Because this shows, at least for her, this shows a bleeding of the brainstem, which talks about whether or not he's immediately incapacitated or not immediately incapacitated. which
Okay.
is an issue that Dr.
No, I understand that's an issue. Okay.
It is an issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Leslie is such
What
a
else,
little
Mr.
snoop.
Jackson?
Look at him standing there.
Figure 5. So there's these spots.
Yeah, I think that's already in evidence, isn't it?
It is, but not the. Oh, Mr. Leslie's saying it's only a chalk at this point, is that right?
I recall it was up, and I usually don't put up the chalks, but okay. Excuse me?
Mr. Lessie, can you say it again? Thanks.
There's only one person who can talk at a time. I'm told it's Exhibit 164.
Yes, Your Honor, and my understanding is it's marked as an exhibit only. It was used as a chalk, but not in evidence.
Okay, so if it's marked as an exhibit, it means it's in evidence.
Sorry, marked for identification.
I'm told I think it's an exhibit. We can find out. If it's an exhibit, everybody's fine with it. It's in. 164, I think. We'll know. Okay. What are those? All right, so we'll have to see what's in and what's not. I'm just trying to make the best use of the time here.
The next is figure 9. Just attendant to these two photographs are attendant to the Lucas machine.
So you're saying 9 in evidence or 9 on the form? 9A and B. Is there an objection to these, Mr. Brennan? Going to the Lucas compression device? There's one on someone who's not John O'Keefe, and then this is on Mr. O'Keefe.
No objection.
Okay, so those will come in.
That's it.
Okay. All right. How much longer, and I'm not curbing you in any way, how much longer do you think? It seems like after the very lengthy qualifications, we're now moving along quicker with Dr. Laposata.
I would guess I probably am going to finish under an hour.
Okay. Any idea, Mr. Brennan?
I guess it'll probably be about a half hour.
Okay. So we should finish with Dr. Laposata's testimony either by the morning break or shortly thereafter. So we'll discuss Dr. Rentschler's testimony, the objections to it. Why don't you just tell me briefly, Mr. Brennan, what the objections are?
There are a number of slides that attempt to frame what the contested issues are in the case. It's improper opinions, it assumes facts, not evidence, and it improperly summarizes the commonwealth position. There are a number of slides that provide credibility determinations about Dr. Welcher, and there are a number of slides that summarize opinions by this expert. So the improper summaries, the credibility determinations, trying to frame issues for the jury, none of that should be admissible as part of the PowerPoint. So we've articulated each slide and what our objections are to each slide that we have any objections to. There's quite a few.
All right, so I'll look through that tonight, but the same restrictions will be you don't criticize the person, it's the data, what you saw, what you didn't see. So if it's different than that in the slides, it's going to have to come out.
Understood. I'll take a closer look at it. I just haven't had a chance.
Yeah, no, I understand. I haven't read it either.
If we're done.
Okay.
4 documents. These are documents that are intended to Dr. Laposata's opinion and conclusions concerning the dog bites.
Okay, so
I'd like to have those identified for the record.
yes. So we'll make that part of the record. I need a clean copy of Dr. Laposata's report and her resume for the same purpose.
And the resume.
Yes.
I'll have those 2 by now.
Okay.
Just finally, the redacted version of the 34 Fairview post is not marked. Could I have that marked as an exhibit now?
Okay. There was no objection, Mr. Brennan?
This was never marked as an exhibit. That's all.
Why don't we do that right now?
Oh, Judge Bev is struggling.
Exhibit 224.
So I would like us to be as efficient for these jurors as possible tomorrow. I'm not suggesting that today was a waste of time. Everything we did was important, but it's very difficult for the jurors to spend so much time back there. It seems that they're just about ready to get this case, and everything that we hear now is very important. So I don't think anybody wants the jurors to tune out at this point. So let's try and keep things moving along. Mr. Jackson, how long do you expect to be with Dr. Rentschler?
Moist. Moist.
2 hours.
Oh.
I'm being corrected. 3 hours. 4. She has a better pace than I do. I don't watch my watch run directly, but maybe it's going to be a whole thing. I mean, between us and cross-examination.
All right. So I told you all the other day I thought I might be in a position to regret giving you last Thursday off, and that's where we're at. So let's be as efficient as we can possibly be.
3 or 4 hours, Jackson.
I understand.
That means Cross is
All
going to
right.
be 6.
Okay. So, Mr. Jackson, do you expect that Dr. Rentschler will be the last witness that you call? Okay. On rebuttal, any idea how long that will be, Mr. Brennan?
I'd like to keep it to 2 hours.
Okay. All right, that would be for everything, including Dr.
Sorry.
Dr. Welcher?
Dr. Welcher, and then the DNA, all those witnesses. I think it should be done in less than an hour.
All right, so will Dr. Welcher be called after the DNA people?
Trying to schedule that. I would expect to call him last, but it all depends on when we can get the DNA people. And Dr. Welcher will be here tomorrow or tonight, so he'll be here. So whoever's, if they're available, I'd like to get the DNA people in first. But we haven't had confirmation on this.
All right, because I told Mr. Lessie that he could excuse himself from this testimony if there were other witnesses first, so that he can prepare once he gets the discovery from Dr. Welcher.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could we understand from the Commonwealth the names of the rebuttal witnesses we're talking about?
They were in the motion, right?
Well, we heard some different things at some point. If something happened with Dr. Laposata, they were going to be different. We heard that at I.
Oh, okay, so the motion that I allowed was Ms. Kuhn. I believe Dr. Gillespie's name was in there.
Hartnett.
And Ms. Hartnett. Okay.
So that's the exception to the scope of Dr. Welcher or the scope of the rebuttal witnesses for the cop.
Yes, I allowed the motion. Mr. Brennan says he's not calling Dr. Gillespie. Mr. Gillespie, right? Okay.
And nor Dr. Crosby.
Or Dr. Crosby. Right.
That's what I,
Yeah.
I think there's.
Sorry, I know.
Well, it's important to know.
You're not calling their dog expert or your own, correct?
Not calling Dr. Crosby.
Okay.
The other item, Your Honor, we want to alert you to, we will come tomorrow with a suggestion with regard to the curative instruction that was given to the court today. We're going to come tomorrow with an ask to be heard on that further. So we're going to come in with that. What happened, what was discussed before, I'm not so sure.
You asked me to change it, was my recollection, Mr. Alessi.
We looked at it at lunch, Your Honor, and appreciate the opportunity to confer with you on it. I don't want to keep the staff later today.
And I don't want to keep the jury waiting, so file something with me and I'll take a look at it. All right. All right, so that's it. We expect to be ready to go when the jury's here tomorrow morning, probably no later than 9:15, 9:20, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll use a full day, as much of it as we can.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All rise for the court, please.
Okay, we're out of here till tomorrow morning. A normal time, 8:55 a.m. Eastern. Thank you to everyone new joining us both on YouTube and on Twitter. On Twitter, remember we're at MadDogJMF, I believe. That's our Twitter call sign for my personal account. So we broadcast this every day.
I refuse to support Elon Musk.
That's right. With that said, let's get out of here. Remember, Pope Phil's on tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, back on YouTube.
I am?
Yes,
What?
you are, remember?
What?
Yes.
What?
Anyway, see you tonight, if I can find my damn mouse.
Have a good afternoon, everybody. Be sure to come back tonight. Gia's paying for double shots.